Sure.
Okay. 1:03 p.m. We've got lots of guests today. Thank you all for coming. Okay, roll call.
Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Here.
Todd McDaniel,
Here.
Chad Sargent.
Here.
Hey, we have a quorum.
Okay. Oh, recognition of guests. Thank you. Did everybody sign in at the front, if you will? Julie Fort's joining us on the phone for a bit, so we might just write her name down, putting that she was on the phone. No, Liz is on her way.
Okay.
Yeah, so Liz is on her way. She'll be here in about 10 minutes. Okay, consent docket. The following items are considered routine by the Board of Trustees and will be enacted with one motion. Discussion desired on any item, that item will be removed from the consent docket and considered separately. The approval of the August 2nd regular meeting minutes and the approval of the payment claims. Give everybody a minute to review those. If anybody has any corrections to be made to the minutes or the payment of claims.
All my bills, or all the ones that I could find receipts for.
I started saying, they can't be all of
That is not all of them.
Yeah, that's what I
I
thought.
might find some more. And I just wanna, the way that I'm doing this claims list, y'all, and I can get a ruling from Liz, but, so I want you to see, like in July, we had the claims, and then I put, the date they were approved, and then the disposition on them, so you can see that, they were approved, and then when they're paid. And so I don't know whether I'm supposed to provide y'all, like a running claims list on these, or now that I have shown you guys that this first set has been paid, those can drop off. And then this next set down here in August, so when if these get approved, I'll put those approved, so you can see the disposition of those, and then those can drop off, and it can just be a rolling one, or you guys have to see everything,
I
so.
think it can just be rolling, but we can work with Frank Crawford on that.
Okay.
The CPA. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes and the claims?
I'll make a motion to approve the August second
August
meeting,
2nd.
August 2nd meeting minutes and the, payment funds.
You got a second?
Second.
I guess we can't get this in advance, so we can.
I did, I sent it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You
when
need more time, Hank?
Huh?
do you need more time to look at it?
No,
Because I sent this and the claims list and the minutes, all were part of the packet that I sent you guys with the agenda.
Okay,
And notice.
I thought I read all of it.
Yeah, there was a lot of attachments.
There was a lot. It's good.
Okay, roll call vote?
Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Item number 5, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding items removed from the consent docket. There were none.
So there's no
Yep,
action.
okay, item number 6, the treasurer's report. You should have just received that. Everybody want to review the profit and loss and the balance sheet? Charles or Howard?
Yeah. We had, general, general funds, lodging tax, on the profit and loss sheet just for August. You'll see that figure at 143,117.61. One donation for 4th of July. So total collection 143,617.61. And then we had some expenses that are set out in the claims. The difference, net income being 133,534.36. And then on the balance sheet, And again, this is for the profit and loss for August. Balance sheet as of August. We've got, total assets, money in the bank, 281, 139, 13. Bills due, 84, 71, 91. Total, liabilities and equity being 281, 139, 13.
Still got money.
Any questions?
When will the sales tax?
We'll get to that, yeah, let's finish this one.
No, nothing yet.
Yeah, but I got info on that.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
Got one more thing that just came in 2 days ago. It's our first billing from time as far as everything that's being done over here, as far as everything we're doing over at City Hall. Anyway, it's $411. I don't wanna wait another 30 days to pay this for next month, and this is gonna be every monthly basis, so I don't think it's $411 every month, there's
Some setup charges.
$250 or $225 setup fee will drop off. So anyway, go
I
ahead.
think we approved in the
Go ahead.
beginning that he can do utility bills without
And
us
hopefully
doing
we can
this,
get that
so
done.
you can just hand it to me.
I want to hand this to him so he can go ahead and we can get checks made and get this paid before next month. So I just wanted to add that to it, okay?
Yeah. Do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion that we accept the treasurer's report.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. May we have a roll call vote?
Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes,
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent,
Yes.
motion carries.
Let's look at sales tax in a minute, we'll figure out where that goes, but let's get these guys with their class.
Okay.
Item number 7, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the approval of the plat for Timber Creek Trails Phase 11. Todd, Charles, is there any discussion on the plats?
No, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary.
170 acres is down Blue Flyer Trail, to the north, goes up and it's going to the Forest Service. So it's about 1 mile down Blue Flyer Trail. And then we have another plat, which I guess is, they're also just 2 lots.
that's just a commercial lot.
Yeah.
There's a portion of this that's outside of the city limits, right?
Yes, just 2.
2 or 3 lots.
Is that upper, western edge?
Yeah.
Northwest edge? Got it, yeah,
And that will be, then the county commissioners will also sign off on that one.
okay.
The other one, the 2 lots, is strictly in Hochatown.
So let's do the first one.
How many total lots is there? You know?
And the one, Brookwater Commercial, was just 2 lots.
See, I think we're just, I think
Yeah,
we're
let's just do
discussing.
number 7 first.
We're doing,
Okay, there's 170 acres, I'm not sure how many lots are about a little over 100.
Okay. One thing I would request is these are great, along with the big map. PDF file, something with a list of street names.
Okay, that's that.
Todd, have you got
It
it?
is all,
Is it on the plat?
they're on the plat.
Okay.
yeah.
I know the plat, but it's also nice, it's hard to pull this up and start picking names off of it. If we got a PDF file list,
Yeah, I can
makes
pull
it
it.
a lot easier.
Next time I'll pull those from the PDF and list them a lot.
Whatever you need, Marcus. Okay.
We also need to get copies of these to the fire department, and then put them in a wall.
Okay.
And then do these have to pass the water board? Do these have like seals? Do they have to? is this-
Yeah, DEQ.
So is that water? Because I remember on that one at Kevin Perry's, he was really adamant that, that he had some kind of seal from the water department or something. So does this have to be?
Does
The
that.
actual water department.
I already have stamped the DEQs on both subdivisions.
Okay, so those are stamped?
Yep.
Any more discussion on Timber Creek Trails Phase 11?
I'll just need, when everything's over, to get Helen to sign all of them.
Mm-hmm. You want Todd to bring them back to you, or you wanna hang out and wait?
Where, are you gonna be here a little later? Or-
Well, I mean, I'll be here till the end of the meeting, which will probably be, I mean, I can give
I'm
them
gonna say, if you
time.
wanna leave them, I'll get them signed, and then I can bring them, it's liable to be a long meeting.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, okay.
You're welcome to stay.
I'll stay a little bit.
Well, here, I'll set them
You want to
here,
set 'em on the
and
table?
then I'll get Helen to
These
sign
are the
them.
small copies.
Cause we gotta sign a bunch of stuff at the end
And
anyway.
they have to use,
Blue.
on.
Is there a vellum one?
there's
It's on
two-
vellum?
there's Two
Okay.
vellums on each subdivision, and one of them, let me see which one. On the phase 11, you'll have to sign with one of these pins.
Okay.
Because I had to add, and the surveyor had a sticking thing for your signature.
Okay.
So you have to sign it with these.
Okay, no
yes,
problem.
yes.
Okay.
So I'll leave those with you too.
When that happens, to the order.
Yeah, and that's just for, on those plastic where she's signing and stuff on one of them. The other one with the 2 lots, you sign with regular pen.
Okay.
Put the, put the button in. Okay, any more discussion on Timber Creek Trails Phase 11?
Looks good, but I see the expansion.
Yep.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the plat for Mr. Wilson?
I'll make a motion to approve Plan Timber Creek Trail South Phase 11.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
Madam
Okay.
Clerk?
Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
it. Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion approves.
Now we'll go to the other one. Item number 8, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding approval of the plat for Loop Fada Trail Commercial comprised of 4 acres, which is your second sheet here. Any discussion?
This was all set aside when we did the original plat approval. It was, these 4 acres were set aside as part of that plat for commercial, wasn't it, right? I remember that, think so.
Well, we didn't approve that subdivision, that was in before we were at town.
Yeah.
That subdivision, these are located in,
Okay, this is not the.
But this is not located, this isn't located in any plat.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
this
The
is
other
on,
one- the
But
other
it is in our,
plat-
in our municipal limits.
The other commercial plat that's in Hochatown, hasn't been recorded yet. It'll be recorded.
and this is on Sugarberry, right? Sugarberry and Pickleberry, or no, it's on Pickleberry and Lake Fada Trail.
I can't remember the name of the road.
Yeah, it's Pickleberry and North Loop Fada Trail.
Do we know what kind of commercial that's gonna be, or?
One
Probably
of
not
them is
a-
gonna be, the Abernathy's are buying it, and it's going to be a cabin management, facility. And the reason we made it a subdivision, the only 2 lots, is so we could file covenants on those 2 lots and have some kind of control in the future to keep it looking well, and keep the property values up, so they wouldn't be junked up, and that's the reason why it's subdivided and filed in subdivision.
Well, Chuck, you're just one step ahead of us, cause we're gonna try to work on planning and zoning, but in the meantime, we sure lean on developers to keep things looking good.
There's no more discussion, I make a motion we approve the Lake Fada Trail commercial plat.
I second.
Roll call?
Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
The motion carries.
by the Ryan Consulting Services with their monthly update of services to the town of Hochatown. We've got exciting news to report.
Well, hopefully not too exciting.
Mayor
We want
Mosso.
nice and stable, right?
So, I think everybody here has met, Mayor Mosso, he's the former mayor and city council
Thank
for,
I'm trying to block that, so I don't know where you want to stand. So Mayor, Trustees, thank you for having me. I think at the last meeting, we discussed a kind of a high-level update every month for you on things that we're looking at and talking about, and also putting action items in place. And clearly, as Hochatown is growing, it's busy for everybody, including all of you, with what's taking place around here and kind of drinking out of that fire hose. There's so much taking place that everything's a priority for you, right? And I think on the agenda today, with ODOT and everything else you're looking at, you can see that. But just a quick kind of a recap. Throughout the month, since our last meeting, we've been working on technology and with your Mr. and Mrs. Copeland about the website and making sure there's the ability to contract that out and get it done consistently. Because again, you're all volunteers and you only have so much bandwidth in a day. So we've been looking at that, and I think we got that moving pretty well forward. We had some meetings with Hochatown Nation, again, very broad about sewer, public safety, the road expansion with ODOT. We probably had 3 meetings with them in the last month. Again, no action items, we'll come put that in front of you, and there's actually things for you to consider and act upon. But right now, it's keeping the door open, keeping communications open, and consistently, right? So we had, I think the Finance Committee, I don't know if they want to talk about it, we had a 2-day work session with the Town of Hochatown Finance Committee, brought an outside consultant that really is not charging us, so I want to make sure. But a very experienced city and town finance director, CFO, and basically reviewing best practices. I think the Board of Trustees have made it very clear they want to be transparent with the public. They want to make sure that everything is done accurately and transparently. And so we reviewed processes over 2 days. With things being as new as they are with tax collection, sales tax, lodging tax, there's a lot of ways to do things, and we want to make sure they're done accurately. So it was great, back and forth discussion. Here's how we do it. Here's how we could do it. Again, from taking financial payments to tracking banking accounts to daily expenditures of printer paper. And it was very detailed. The Finance Committee, to their credit, had a lot of good questions. Got into the weeds because that's what it was intended for. So we're here for 3 days, and 2 of those days was during this work session. And I don't know if the Finance Committee wants to update any more than that, but it was very just process oriented. Probably things will put us to sleep, but need to be done accurately. And so that was really good. Clearly, we've had discussions with ODOT about the process and kind of making sure what next is. A later agenda item, you're going to discuss the road expansion. What opportunities exist for the town? Is there additional conduit that can be laid, additional fiber? What needs does the town of Hochatown have over the 5 or 10 coming years? And I think future agenda item on that, we've been talking to engineering firms about ways that they can help. Almost everything you're doing here is going to require some professional help from the engineering perspective, whether it's road improvements, whether it's a main road or cabin roads, water, sewer. So at a future trustee meeting, we'll probably bring you a proposal from 1 or 2 engineering firms that can help you as you evaluate these things, including the roadway expansion. We're also in discussion with grant writers, right? There's a lot of grants out there that will take away some of that burden of the local taxpayer for grants from local, regional, and federal grants that you can take advantage of. We have some work left to do on that. We need to get some information moving forward. We reviewed, and again, at a future meeting, we have Tracy in the back here. Y'all had a work session on priorities and strategic visioning of the city. This won't be the first or last time you do that. Planning ahead is critical to your growth and success. So we'll report that out in a future meeting. But we did talk a little bit about those priorities. Offline to see where we could start putting some of our energy at. And I did have an economic development meeting with potential developers that we can't share yet publicly, but they're out of the ETJ, and there's an opportunity to bring them into the ETJ, into the city annexation. annex them into the city and work with them on make sure it's quality development, make sure you capture some of that revenue from town services, as well as maybe if there's sewer type, things they need, we could either partner with them or piggyback, and so we're having that dialogue, and we're getting a lot of those details, and we had that meeting actually out of state with them, because they're in Texas. And then the big one, which you'll see hopefully very, very quickly, is, we've been meeting with a entity that manages lodging tax, that are very good at it. They do the city of San Antonio, city of Waco, city of Frisco, and it would basically give you what you need to be fully up to speed. A lot of people have questions about it, some of the cabin owners. It gives them a place to call, a web portal to make payments on, tracking, reporting to the trustees. Also identifying all those things we will send you here really quick, because I have a call with them later today. We've had probably 4 meetings with them, making sure they're covering all the needs that you need at a fair and reasonable price. And so we expect to put that in front of you here in the near future, very near future, because I think that's a priority.
Probably won't need a special meeting on that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's close.
yeah, my recommendation and goal is to get you something here in the next week maximum, so you can, whatever you put in place, hopefully we can do it quick enough that they begin October 1st. That's the goal. That's a pretty fast timeline, and making sure all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and, but again, I hope we can reach that fairly quick. And that's just a very high recap of the many other things we've talked to several of you over the last month, and we're just chipping away at it, trying to make some progress. So, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So you have a summary report of everything you just went over in detail, or are you gonna be able to send to us?
Yeah, we can send that to you, yeah. We're trying to, again, what we're trying to do is, per your request, just update you on what's taking place. We try not to put things in front of you until there's a decision to be made, so you have the full picture. You know, you're not guessing at parts of it, so we'll have a lot of meetings and stuff, so like, again, we'll use an example of Hochatown Nation. I know Todd here has been talking about sewer, we're kind of interacting with them, we're giving them a tour of some of the facilities we've seen, so there's a lot of detail in that, but, and we don't want to overwhelm you with a book each month, all right? It's just high level, but when there's action items for you to consider, our goal is, you know, to get you a fully prepared action item, so you know all the things you need to know to make a governance decision on that. But happy to modify that any way you need, if you need more or less. You know, we're just trying to give you what you need to see what's going on.
Yeah, it'd just be good to have a cheat sheet.
Yeah,
You know,
Happy to
because
do that.
we're all overwhelmed with 10 million things,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, we'll get that to you.
In some, you know, in some of these areas that you guys are working on, it would be nice, to know ahead of time, like, hey, this is what we're looking at doing over the course of the next week or two. We're gonna meet with ODOT, because some of us are meeting with ODOT.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're all trying to get to the same end
Absolutely.
goal of trying to, and, you know, I'm sure you guys are getting, you know, information that is relevant, and,
Yes.
but we are too, so.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, we're not really negotiating with any of these, we're sharing your needs. What we
Sure.
hear from you, we're getting direction from you, and we're trying to get you to a place, and again, we serve you, right? So whatever direction you want us to take it in, but we're trying to get you to a place where you'll have a town administrator, soon we hope, right? A full-time town administrator. And the way you look at them is going to be, they're the CEO of the company, they're out there hiring personnel, they're running the town on a day-to-day basis. And you're, you know, the mayor is the chairman of the board, you're the board of directors. The governance, the direction you wanna go in, including the budgets, all those things. And that's where, you know, we're trying to act that way, because that's good governance. And so we hope to get to a place where trustees, because you're all volunteers, you don't have the time or energy to do everything every day. We're trying to get to a place where those type of discussions happen at a staff level, and you direct staff to go have those discussions, and then bring me back the proposals for you to evaluate, ask questions, give direction, go back and no, we don't like this part of it. So somebody's doing the work for you, because again, you're volunteers, you have trustee, you know, businesses, you can't do everything. And to your point, that's the exact issue that we want to kind of get past, which is too many people talking to too many entities you get different messages, right? So we wanna be the conduit, and really the town administrator will be the conduit. We're kind of temporary to help you manage some of this load, but the goal is, speaking bluntly, that you're directing somebody full-time to go do this work for you. And then you get consistency, professionalism, the right outcome that the entire board of trustees wants. So absolutely, you're right. Right now, we're kind of in this between world where there's multiple discussions going on, and we're trying to kind of bring that to center. And that's why your report idea is a good idea, that everybody should know what's going on and what's taking place.
Because the position you guys are in, Mayor, it's a little bit different position than some of us are in meaning the fact we have direct, relationships with a lot of these business owners who feel comfortable at this point coming to us.
Yes.
Versus knowing where you guys stand, that they're, they don't have that bridge to get there just yet, which may in due time they may. So I think it's good that, we are communicating.
Yeah, and for the record, we hope they don't ever get there. I think you're the elected officials, you're the
Right.
conduit. You need to hear what they think, and, you're taking those positions. You're directing, whether it's consultant or a paid staff member or whoever you're dealing with as a group, you're directing that outcome on behalf of your residents. So I don't think staff is the conduit to whoever that staff is or consultant to your residents. You are. That should never, personally, in my opinion, shouldn't change. You're elected to represent them. And so we take that direction from you as their representative to go get this done. Go figure this out, go negotiate this, bring it back to us. Hopefully that's the way, but it's ultimately up to you how you operate, right? So, we'll take your direction, but we're not off on our own, go, hey, this is the best thing for the town. That's not our call. You're that call.
Yeah.
Does George work with you, or is that?
No, it's
that's a
separate entity, and he's been helping, like, he's not under contract with you. He just loves cities and stuff, and, my recommendation is you probably should contract with him on some of these, especially on the engineering and infrastructure side. He's just a real expert in that. And when you interview town administrators, for example, you probably want him sitting in on that and kind of help you evaluate the good and the bad issue you're looking for. So.
Well, thank you, sir.
Well, we like him too, along with you.
Yeah.
We see him around.
Thank you. He's good, I can tell you that. He's a good man.
Okay. Anything else just on the high level, these are the things we're working on, roads, sewer, water.
As far as your grant writers, is that something that we can communicate with them directly, or do we need to email?
So the ball's on your court. What I mean by that is we send an email. We've identified a grant writer that actually has an interest up here, and she's experienced with school districts and so she knows what she's doing. We need to get you into the federal government, so talk about some of the details we don't update you on all the time. We communicate with the right person, in this case, your finance folks. We need to get your information entered in the federal government, and you get a number, you get identified that you can accept these grants. And so we're at that stage now. She's great rate. It'll be in front of you at some point to make a decision to move forward with that. So we need to get that finalized. We need somebody on your side to interact, to get them all the information they need so they can enter. It's a few hours process with the national side of getting you set up. So, but grants, grants can be all over the place. There's grants that have to go through you strictly. Some are through somebody like that can help facilitate them. We have Hochatown Nation that has grants out here. We've talked to them about some of those. So I think it's a community-wide effort. Anytime we can identify a grant, let's figure out who's going to go after it and go after it. But yeah, so we've had these discussions. So we'll try to get you moving forward on that.
And part of that, I mean, again, like Tracy said, we've got so many moving parts at the same time. So just today, Nick finished getting the internet set up so that we can have our official emails, because we need to set up the grant portal.
Yeah.
Well, it needs to go to hochatown.gov and the, grant writer at hochatown.gov email address. We just got all that set up an hour ago, Nick. I mean, we're ready to roll now. So almost before we could do that, we had to do this.
And you have an agenda item later about website that you can discuss, and we can talk about that a little bit more. And stuff, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more discussion on what's been happening? Item number 10, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding extending the Ryan Consulting Services contract, through October 31st, 2023. We've been doing it kind of a month at a time, and we moved it through September, so,
I say we give them another month.
Maybe.
Maybe.
okay, so, any more discussion on, okay, so, we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we, extend the agreement to October 31st with Ryan Consulting.
Because I'm telling you, I'm gonna disconnect my phone. Okay. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and
Helping us.
thank you all, thank you for doing that. And just to add a little color to that, what we were trying to do with that, because as the revenue wasn't there, we actually started, helping where we could, but we didn't wanna outrun your revenue just to make sure it was above board. The original idea was to help you through the end of the year, to you all. And then during that period, we start putting the job description for the town administrator and get that going. So you may see another renewal or two in there, just because we're trying to, as we go along, to get you there. So that's why you may see this more often, but we don't wanna burden you over longer periods right now.
Well, there's certainly a lot of work that gets done south of the river on our behalf. Okay, item number 11. Julie, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve an engagement letter with the law firm of Messer Fort and McDonald for the provision of municipal legal services. Before we start the discussion on that, Julie or Liz, do you want to kind of talk about why we are talking to Julie?
I can from the town council's perspective. Julie has extensive experience in a startup town, and so the idea is not for her to come in and double what legal services you're doing, but help expedite some of these initial things that we're having to do over the next 12 to 24 months. Getting ordinances in place from scratch, police departments in place from scratch, a number of things that attorneys don't do all the time. And Julie's got recent experience in it, so it would really be just to supplement and assist with what we're doing and have the manpower to do all of the things we need to do, which is simply just too much for one person. So Julie and I had a call last week, and we're already talking about ways to have efficiencies and work together to get things in front of you quicker to get some of our basic things set up. So, and anything Julie wants to add?
Well, and Julie also has extensive planning and zoning experience, which is what we really, it's knocking on our door. Mayor's gonna talk to that, I can
May
tell.
I add to this a little bit, Al, Mayor, as we kind of reviewed what you're having, the great job Liz is doing on, especially, the litigation and the big stuff, one of the goals is to get you a more permanent, and it could be through Liz's office or Julie, in town representative. The good news is almost everybody you've engaged with has a stake here, right? They're people that care about the community. Julie has a stake here, and Liz has a stake here, in one form or fashion. So I think we're just trying to conquer divide and not based just on cost. So all the people that have been doing work for you as a town have been doing it at a way below market, just because they love this area, they care about it, they really want to help you develop as a community. And so I've known Julie a long time. I had called her early on saying, hey, are you interested? And, oh yeah, I happen to have cabins up here. And, and she represents several towns in Texas, certified in Oklahoma, and she can kind of help with the detail stuff as you need it without, $800 an hour every call, every 15 minutes, right? So I think it's a great value for the community, a person that's experienced. We're great with Liz. Liz is amazing, but I'm sure she's drinking out of a fire hose sometimes. And so I think it's the more divide and conquer and get the right people that care about the community involved, and that's what we're trying to bring to the table a lot of. So.
We want the whole pie, but we want to slice the pie where we can actually work with it. And like I said, I'm really excited if Julie can help us with planning, zoning, and day-to-day municipality. Julie, you got anything you want to add to the group? I know you can't see everybody, but they're here. Anything else, anybody? You've got her contract in front of you, Howard.
I've got one question, and this is just an old dumb plumber asking question. But this is not a 12-month or 24-month contract. This is a letter of agreement, unlimited services until one or the other party wants to terminate. 30-day notice. Is that what I understand? Is that from, it says, termination, either party may, go ahead, Judy, I'm sorry.
The town can terminate the agreement at any time, you know, if you don't want services, you don't have to call. You know, who represents you, that's the client choice, and, you know, if a client, doesn't want our representation, we're not gonna force them to allow us to continue working just because, you know, there's a contract. And so that's why we don't put a set term in the contract, because it is a trust relationship, and, if you don't call, if you don't, you know, that's okay.
And I thought that's what it was, but I just wanted to get it out in the open and make sure everybody's clear, especially me. So, thank you.
Yes, and I will, just for the record, you may notice that the letterhead name is different from the name on the agenda. We did have a partner, in her late sixties, decided that she wanted to scale back and had a, you know, moving towards retirement, so that's why, it's just that's her for now, instead of the.
Okay.
Julie, this is Charles Ward, our treasurer.
Charles Ward, treasurer, and I am an attorney in Oklahoma. And as such, you know, like, looking at the rates, I can tell the trustees that's really reasonable. Very
I was
reasonable.
shocked.
Right,
It's half
right.
rates out of Dallas like that, so
Exactly.
you're doing a favor down there.
Yeah, the small question, and as far as fees are concerned, relates to travel, right? And it, I think in paragraph 8, it says travel time for legal work and travel is billed in a tenth of an hour. Do you have other rates for travel, or are they billed at the attorney rate up here?
Generally, they're built in at the attorney rate, although, you know, I'm happy to discuss that so we can work with your budget.
Right.
And I can tell you, you know, we do come up, try to get up there as much as we can to come stay in one of our own cabins. And so, if we do a meeting where we can come and then we end up staying, then I'm just gonna do that as personal travel, because we're up there, you know, staying.
Right.
Versus if I just come up and down for
Right. Okay.
a trustee meeting.
Yeah, and that, I mean, you're driving from the Dallas area, correct?
Yes,
And
I'm
that's
in
it.
the Kenny, which is 30 miles north, so yes, it's about 2 hours and 15
Right.
minutes. Yes.
And so that, you know, a two-way trip here and back, if it's business, could be $1,000 easily, just for travel. So I just want that to be made clear to everyone, that we understand that, you know, that travel is,
That's why she's on the phone right now.
pardon?
That's why she's on the phone right now.
Yeah, right.
There are more than one
Exactly.
ways to
I
have a
mean,
meeting.
yeah, I would imagine there'd be a whole lot of travel involved, I mean, other than her coming and visit and staying, so just wanna make that, clear, okay?
Anything else from anybody?
I think it was a good outline. Thank you for taking the time to do it.
And I know that Liz has already looked at it too, so,
Yeah,
you know.
all,
Liz, you good with this?
I'm good with it, and I think it'll be great to have Julie on board and to have some expertise in kind of this unique area of brand new towns, but also some more hands to help get
Instead
stuff
of
done.
leave you on the hook. Yeah.
So I think it'll be a good relationship, so.
Okay. Any more discussion on Julie's joining the team?
Thank you, Julie.
Oops,
You're welcome, happy to help.
okay,
You've done a good job of doing this all by yourself.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you, I'm glad to have some help. I've with everybody, we got a nice long list that Julie and I are going to start
Yeah.
on, so.
So do we have a motion, to engage with the law firm of Nestor and Fort for the provision of municipal legal services?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Chad? Roll call.
Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Formally welcome to the team, Julie.
Right. Thank you.
Now you're in trouble.
Happy to help, and, I told the mayor ahead of time I had a 1:45 piece, so y'all have perfect time.
Yeah, so, all right, well, thanks for joining us, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, I'll
thanks.
talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye. We didn't cut any slack for anybody. Okay, is there anybody else that, I'm just gonna check real quick, is there anybody else that wants to leave before we go over the rest of this?
I don't think anything's.
Everybody good with the order? Anybody wanna leave? Anthony or? Okay. Discussion only regarding town ordinances.
Well, that is good timing, right after Julie.
Yeah.
So Julie and I have talked at length about, a number of things related specifically to ordinances, and we are working, myself and Amanda, who you guys met when we did the election, are putting together a standard set of ordinances. What we need to do on that to get that going is I'd like to schedule a workshop meeting where in advance of that workshop meeting, we send each of the trustees a notebook with all of the suggested basic ordinances. We meet at that workshop to go through them, pick the ones we wanna get done right away and get those put in place. Which will lead a little bit into number 13 that we'll talk here in a minute. So, building codes, permit requirements, police department established, just all the basic standard things, most of which are dictated by Oklahoma law, what those ordinances need to be. But to get you guys prepared so you're not having to, spend forever doing this, we are gonna put together notebooks for each of you to have in advance so you can study them before the meeting, so we can expedite that meeting and get these ordinances voted and put in place. So what I need, and you don't necessarily have to tell me today while I'm here, maybe we can circulate an email or I can touch base with each of you, is some dates where we could carve out ideally, a morning or an afternoon, 3 to 4 hours to go through those and get some basic ordinances enacted. Any questions on that?
Well, if it's 3 to 4 hours, let's do it in the morning.
Yeah, I agree.
With coffee.
Well, I will tell y'all, I'm gonna be down here on the 25th for court.
September.
Uh-huh, so if we wanted to do
Charles only likes to
something.
pay travel once, so.
I mean, if I'm
It's on Monday.
It is a Monday. Court's not till 1:30 that day.
That works,
So we could do Monday morning, the 25th.
Do you have to do much prep work before?
Oh, I'll be ready before I get down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be ready before I get down here.
Do the trustees need?
Can you be ready that quick? With-
Oh, for
with
the
a book- with a
ordinances?
book of
I
ordinances?
should, let's not officially schedule it yet, but let
Okay.
me check with Amanda, but we were wanting to try to do it sooner than later for you guys. These are all really standard, it's just us kind of compiling the ones we know we can get in place and go,
Right.
run with. We're
If
not
gonna-
writing
If
it
we're
from
gonna meet with
scratch.
the entire board, do we need to set up a special meeting for this?
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll do it as a work session, but we'll also, ideally, and we've got time to sort this out, have an agenda item again, vote on some of these while we're there and get some done and in place.
Is that an executive meeting?
Just regular,
Regular.
yeah, a special meeting, but open session,
Right.
yeah.
Mayor, if I may add, maybe that's a good time to also look at this, review this, potential contract for lodging, consulting, the tax consultant.
Yeah,
We should
maybe
probably
we-
have it ready by then. Again, my goal is to get it by October 1st if we can. But when, if we can get all our ducks in a row, that'd be a good meeting.
Aim
to-
for that on the
Yeah,
25th
yeah.
too, okay?
And they had, not to take away from what we just talked about, but what the mayor just talked about, and that was that Zoom meeting that we had set up. and this company that they're working with is unbelievable. What, in the hour that we sat there on the Zoom meeting, what they showed us that they could track, and go find this money that we're losing right now, track these STRs, they do it all, and it's gonna be well worth it. So, I'm anxious for them to make presentation to the board on this.
You'll get before.
It's pretty exciting.
I can add a little bit since it's on the agenda earlier. The goal is, with your resources, which is minimal right now, is to make them almost become a department in the town where that's all they do. They do 100% of it, collect the revenue, portal for residents and SDR owners go on and take care of the payments. They do auditing of the payments. They go back. Before that date, we'll send you that presentation as material for that meeting. If we get it all worked out in the pricing and everything, then we can go over it. But the idea is to make you 100% efficient in that. You're not missing anything. If you want to go back and review anything that's been missed, they can do that. And I think it's just what you need today, because you're doing about 10% of what you should be collecting, honestly.
And this company's out of,
They are based, not in Texas or Oklahoma. I think they're based in the Northeast somewhere. I'll get that for you, but they do business all over. As an example, they already do the full-blown services, not just the minor, because there's different ways you can do it. If you had staff, you can actually get the technology and process some of it yourself. You're not in a position to do that, honestly. But like San Antonio, I believe, does the whole thing also with them. Waco also does. So that's how we got their name, through some recommendations from other cities. And we interviewed them, then we had the finance committee talk to them, then they came and met with me, Kurt and George, and to go through the actual step-by-step what they do and how they handle it. We'll get you that record. We'll probably have them come up here, that meeting, and then present to you and answer any questions directly also. This is a significant decision. It's not an inexpensive one either, but I think you'll be way ahead of the game.
Well, you said it us, it's the only way to be 100%.
Yeah.
So they're not just a collection, they also come in and audit.
Everything, yes.
Yes.
And in fact, part of
Part
what I spoke to them about is they'll take 5% of your total every year and audit them. And it's really a way, part of their effort too is not just, government here should bail. They actually will do education programs for the cabin owners. For example, we learned where the problems are with Airbnb and VRBO is not one we're gonna be able to solve. It's really that simple. They see this everywhere. They solve it through their technology directly with the cabin owners and education. So they have this down. That's what they do. And so we'll get that to you. And I think that'll take a big load off and also stabilize the revenue so you can provide services for the community that they need. So I think that's the goal. It looks good.
So can we elaborate on VRBO, or is it not on the agenda yet?
I think they'll be able to provide
Yeah,
a lot of.
that'll be in their presentation, so. And how they handle it.
And if we have to have another special meeting just to get that rolling, it could be a 15-minute meeting, but let's do it.
Yeah, I
Get it
agree.
rolling. So we just got more information today, so we didn't really have time to do it, but.
Without going into detail, we got this in the middle of the day. Brand new registration for 3 brand new cabins, or not 3 brand new cabins, brand new registration for 3 cabins. Had a little over $30,000 worth of billings for the month of July. Deducted every bit of it because Airbnb will not collect, so they think they're exempt from paying taxes.
Wow.
Because Airbnb won't collect or Virtual won't collect. So this is what they do. This is what we're losing. $1,300 worth of taxes right here we lost.
And so they can
Okay,
virtually
correct.
just pay
And that's just
themselves with the taxes they collect that we're missing. Right.
I think we're gonna get this figured out, like this month, but
Yeah.
thanks to the heavy lifters over here for making this stuff happen for us.
Just a prime example right there.
Yeah. Okay, any more discussion on ordinances?
Well, do we wanna set a date for the work?
I think we're saying the 25th.
So
Did we
that
make
is
it in the
at
morning?
8 in the morning, from like 8 to.
Do we need to move it to
9.
more like 10 or something?
No, I'll probably come up the night
Nine.
before for that.
Okay, so what time?
9.
I'd say, is 8 too early?
Okay.
Coffee.
Only just so I don't run late for court.
Yes,
And we
ma'am.
have time to get
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
Okay, so 8 to noon? Okay, 8 to
I bet we
noon.
can manage a quarter on board,
On Monday.
9 o'clock, Janet.
And if that
Monday.
changes, it will be only because we're just don't have everything together yet, but I don't think that will be a problem.
Okay.
9:25, 8 a.m.
8 to 9.
I know, Dan, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm, three of us are gonna be
Coffee and
late.
donuts.
Okay. Okay, but that town ordinance is, it goes right along with lodging tax, you know, if you've got a business license, if you've got a SDR permit, then we know what we're doing, so. Okay, police department,
I know there's been some concern about trying to get police department established, as soon as possible. That rolls right in with the ordinances. One of the ordinances will be to establish the police department. How that typically works in a town of trustees form of government is, you all will pass an ordinance to establish the police department, and you all will appoint a police chief. The police chief will then have the authority to hire officers, which are confirmed, the hiring is confirmed by the trustees. But that's gonna be your first full-time employee if this happens sooner than later, which means we've got to talk about payroll.
let me ask you, does it have to be a full-time chief of police? Could it be like a
No.
contract position where we don't have to pay insurance and benefits right now? I mean, we would have to insurance, but you know.
But they're gonna
health
hire
insurance.
officers that are I mean, we might as well bite the bullet.
Okay.
I mean,
Because we're gonna have.
because
more.
then I think
Okay.
you just, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. Which isn't, OMAG can help us
Yes, I'm
sort
gonna meet
out
with them next week.
benefits, insurance, all those sorts of things, and we need to talk to Crawford about if they're gonna handle our payroll.
Yes.
Or if we need to hire someone that's gonna do our payroll. So you and I probably need to have an offline conversation about getting,
And along with that,
employees set
Crawford
up.
and Mayor, you too, pay attention, we're fixing to talk
Pay attention.
police, we're talking road, we're talking a lot of stuff. We've got to figure out in our budget, it's time to start setting up different accounts at the bank. For, if we're gonna assign money, and I'm getting ahead of myself, we're gonna establish a police department. We need to know what that average out of a budget is for a town of our size, and I don't know where to start there. Don't know who does, but we need help. Roads, how many miles of roads we got? We need to get somebody to go look at those roads, figure out what conditions are. What out of a $1 million a year budget, how much of that do you set aside for roads? I don't know what that number is, so start developing that. If we're talking roads, we're talking police, sooner, talk fire, all of that's got to happen sooner or later, but all of that has to be in separate accounts at the bank.
Not really, because when I worked at EDS, we had cost centers. So we had one bank account and then you were assigned a cost center.
Okay.
And so then, you know, as,
Okay.
and then
Something
your
has
cost,
to be
then your
assigned.
cost
Crawford
center,
know all that.
yeah,
Okay.
and your
Yeah.
cost center has a
Crawford
budget.
knows.
And then you know, as you spend under that cost center, then it all just rolls up into a blanket one. So you don't have, you can have one account, but it, you know, how it's separated is in accounting, so.
Okay, I'm good.
the great thing is
We're on the right
ideally
track.
Crawford's gonna do all that, and we won't
Yes.
ever have to worry
Yes.
about it
Yeah.
at all. That's the goal, at least. So those are the things that, in talking about and getting a police department set up automatically triggers is one, we've gotta have the ordinance that establishes the police department and allows you all to appoint a police chief. Then we've gotta, you know, have somebody say they'd like to be the police chief, offer, that position, knowing that means we need to have our full-time employee situation set up from a payroll and benefits perspective, all stuff that can happen pretty quickly, but it's multi-layered. So as we're putting together the ordinances, that will be part of that, and in the meantime, we'll also work to identify resources with Crawford for payroll and benefits and insurance and all that good stuff, so that we can, do that all in short order as well.
You know,
So
but,
those are all issues on the radar with respect to the police force.
I know the state has requirements as far
Yeah.
as size of our, correct, based on our population, like
It's probably population based, I can find out, that doesn't, your ordinances won't reflect anything about your size, but from a, like logistics standpoint, we'll need to identify that. Now, I do know one thing that we're gonna wanna watch out for is if you have under 5, so if we have 4, a police chief plus 3 officers, you don't have to pay overtime, there's an exemption in FLSA. So if we can manage and we have sufficient, if that is sufficient coverage for a town of our size to have a chief and 3 officers, there's some cost savings there because we won't be subject, they will be exempt from overtime requirements, so just something to flag.
And that too is a really good reason why we need the flock cameras.
I just wrote that down, that's exactly right, you know, we agreed to do the flock cameras, to do 2, I mean, I don't know, and again, they're gonna help us decide where that goes, I mean, yeah, outside my pay grade, you know, 1 on each end of town,
You're
1, 2 by
gonna
side.
go put it on pole, right?
Yeah, let me get my heart out, you know, but, you know, you know, and I've cleared this with Liz, you know, if anybody wants to donate toward more flock cameras, I mean, we could have 100 cameras, but we don't, you know, I'm too scared to budget 100 cameras, cause we don't even know what we have, but if anybody wants to donate to cameras, that's gonna help our police department and save us on personnel,
Well,
because
2
of what
is a
the
very good
cameras can
start.
do.
1 on north, 1 south.
I mean, that's a start, you know, but the more cameras we get, the more monitoring we'll have, which will help the police department.
Right.
But all those police departments, I mean, cause that's a scary thing, Todd. I mean, if it's population driven, I mean, we have 214 people who live here, but it swells up to 30,000 on the weekend.
Well, I don't think
And
it would limit you to
Uh-huh.
how many you could have, I'm sure there's a minimum based on population.
Yeah, cause that is very minimum, because they'll be spending all their time shutting down.
Well, and I believe it's also,
parties.
it's also something where we co-op with the tribe as well. too.
Sure.
And
I
that-
was wondering if they were, you know, amiable to that.
I've got a meeting with Jeff, I mean, we haven't set it up yet, but it was after Labor Day.
Yeah.
Their State of the Nation, but maybe later this week, which is slipping away.
So in theory, with talking about a police department, which I feel like is, I mean, it's one, you know, it's one of those, I think, priorities that is down the road. I don't think it's something that, I mean, I think the discussion's good, but, I mean, we're talking about hiring a police chief and hiring police officers. We don't have municipal,
Yeah, 5 vehicles.
I mean, we don't have vehicles, we don't have, you know, we don't even have a building for these guys to work on it. Would they be working out of, you know, would we be hiring them from McCurtain County Sheriff's Department, or would these individuals just be floating around town with no building to go to, or jail? Would they be affiliated with the county, or how would that work in theory as we move
I think we can do all kinds of things, once we agree that we, you know, one of the things now, because we don't have, I mean, and we don't have to have 4 police officers, we still just have a police chief.
Right.
And use mutual aid with the park rangers, the highway patrol, the light horseman, the
Okay.
sheriff, Broken Bow, Smithville, anybody else.
So they wouldn't have to have it designated?
No, I mean, we've got
But,
several,
okay.
well, and again, now that we have our, thank you, Nick White, we have IT, we have a place for people to go. We have several law enforcement officers that do not have offices here.
Okay.
But they know where they can go and get free coffee and free Wi-Fi and a private place to do their
Yeah.
reports and some things like that. And we've got
Okay.
several places that we can look at, you know, we've got the EMS office right there next to you guys in Choctaw Hills.
Yeah.
We've got the library with a closed off room at Suite G. We certainly have, you know, I bet Charles would let them come in and use his office, so. But again,
All right.
we gotta have a way to, enforce the ordinances.
That's
Sure,
it.
that's
Even
right.
if all we have is a police chief that says, I need some mutual aid, park ranger, highway patrol, light
We
horseman.
draft the ordinance in such a way that it says they've got permission to do those co-ops, et cetera. There's some language I was actually looking at this morning, that recognizes, especially in communities like this, like the sheriff's gonna be involved. Then you're gonna have a lot of the same law enforcement involved, but at least you've got somebody here who's kinda.
And
running the show.
he'll be able to pull everybody together, so we'll be a team, with the Choctaws, with the state park, with the sheriff's department, all these people, because we've got somebody.
We've got a lot of multi-jurisdictional going on in our local community that most communities don't have. In fact, I even wondered, you know, so Cody McDaniel is the county emergency response coordinator for FEMA and the Oklahoma Homeland Security. You know, can our police chief also, and if you are a city of over $50,000, I'm looking at the lawyer here, if you are a municipality of over 50,000 people, could be 30, whatever the number is, doesn't matter, you are required to have your own municipal emergency response coordinator. But you can certainly have one for less than that, for less population. Well, in theory, every weekend we have that population. Could our police chief also be our emergency response coordinator.
I think they will be by default.
Yeah.
Call them that or not.
Yeah, so those are all things that if we can get, you know, park rangers and Choctaw Nation and Highway Patrol and CERT and get everybody on the same team and figure out what this looks like.
Mayor, if I may add a little bit to that, I think part of what you're doing here is you have a couple choices. One is to hire a consulting firm to do a study of what you need, because you're right, there's cars, there's communication systems, what are you gonna, you know, what are you gonna do to build your own towers for antennas and all that? Or typically what'll happen is you're gonna hire a chief, in your job description that you build, as part of that is to build the organization, give you recommendations. They'll do the studies, what you need, how many officers, how many cars, so you can budget for it, and include communication. And part of that, a big part of it for you all especially, but every city has this, is ILAs, and interlocal government agreements, right? So you'll have that with Choctaw, with the sheriff, and that way they need mutual aid, you need it, you share, a lot of cities share communication systems. So that way their officers up here, they can reach them, and if you're somewhere else, so you can kind of piggyback, whether it's a more rural system. But I think the job description you create for the chief covers the things you need, which is to do some of these studies to figure out what the costs are and to submit it to you all to approve. So that you know, one way or another, there's somebody experienced that can do that for you, or hire a consulting firm to get it. But that's a good start. That's again, now you're getting into human resources, which gets, you know, more complication. And maybe on that meeting on the 25th, I don't know if it's appropriate that you do an executive session on personnel, right? So you can talk about things that not necessarily are public, especially when you're dealing with public safety. So that might be an opportunity for you guys to discuss the other agenda item too, and what you're looking for, and you know, from personnel. But Liz can answer that question. But I think it's you gotta get moving on it, and you do that impact, because you're gonna find out public safety is really expensive. In our city that I was a mayor, it was more than 50% of the general budget. I mean, most of it was public safety, so you still have fire you gotta address, right? So.
Well, the nice thing about getting at a minimum the ordinance in place, and then when we're ready, hiring a police chief, is like you said, you all as the trustees who are not law enforcement experts aren't gonna have to make decisions about those sorts of things. That person can be the point person to gather the data needed to present to the trustees. So they may not be out driving in a cop car arresting people every day, they may be helping establish the department for that first year or so, which is, somebody's gotta do it, so might as well get after it.
Someone needs to enforce the ordinances, I mean, that's not us.
Well, and they will also be able to, enforce state and federal law too, so, you know, pulling people over, or if somebody's bringing a law that's not just our ordinance, then they'll have that authority as well.
Cool.
Anything else on police department? For me?
Moving on to item number 14, discussion, consideration, and possible action to hire a surveyor to evaluate and prepare survey for potential areas to be annexed into the town.
I added this because I know we've had a number of inquiries about annexation, and so I wanted to have trustee approval so that we can go get surveys done as needed to present to you all. Otherwise, I can come and say, there's this great thing, but I can't give you survey because we haven't hired a surveyor. So this is just kind of a preemptive, let's get a permission from the trustees to get a surveyor, so that we can start actually taking some, gathering information, putting surveys together for potential annexed areas. So that's all this item is.
Do we think the survey, or you guys already?
No, I do not. This is just so that we can go. I mean, we can
different
use
surveyors for different
Yeah.
projects.
Well,
You'll know who is, I take feedback from you guys on who in this area, one, is cost efficient, two, can actually get down there and do it. So if, we don't really need to specify who here, but I just, if y'all can bless that we can hire one, then if y'all will give me some feedback on who,
well, I think it's something we definitely need to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we need
I do too, and you know, for everyone, I think when you gotta get started somewhere, you gotta get ordinances to know how to annex it.
well, that's all dictated by state law. So we can do an annexation as soon as we decide we're ready and we've identified that it's processed.
And for us as a group to decide what that area is. Where do we go attack first, or we attack two different areas? I'm gonna
Don't use
attack,
the word
maybe the wrong
attack.
word. That's the wrong word, wrong word, sorry.
Join, kumbaya.
Join.
Yes.
We probably have some that want to join us, we probably have some that don't. But anyway, we need to identify that area as a group, look at an area of mountain, okay, go out here and catch this part and see what that gets. I don't know where to start there.
And I think
I
having
think
a surveyor on
identifying an
board
area and
helps.
just, instead of just turning the surveyor out and say, go out there west somewhere and figure out something.
We're not gonna do that.
Okay.
No, we would provide them.
You've been through this before, so.
Yeah, we'll provide, what we did before is we put some maps together, we
Mm-hmm.
highlighted the area we wanted, which is, you know, we don't know where pins are at and stuff, and then they go out and find pins,
Figure it
replace
out.
pins, and do all this cool
Do the
fancy
same
data
thing.
stuff and make the maps, but we will provide them with the very specific, areas
We
dictated
do-
on maps.
This too will help with cabin business because stay in Southern Hills, you don't have to pay the extra taxes. Stay in Northern Hills, you pay extra taxes. So it's important that we get
Well,
this going.
it's important for our town to grow. We don't wanna just sit here with our little 7 square miles forever. We got to expand.
Do we need to make a motion?
Any more discussion? We good? Okay, do we have a motion to, hire a surveyor to evaluate and prepare surveys of potential areas to be annexed?
I make a motion that we hire a surveyor.
Do we have a second?
Now, second,
Roll call vote, please.
Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Now that we've agreed to hire a surveyor,
Yes.
do we have to have another special meeting to actually, or a meeting to actually hire a surveyor?
That's considered a
Okay,
professional service.
No, I think you would need to have another meeting to maybe all agree on what we're gonna.
Well, I guess that's what I'm
have.
getting at.
Yeah.
Can we just individually meet and discuss it, or do we need to sit down and have a meeting on who to hire?
Not on who to hire, I don't think so, no. I think is sufficient authority, but I think when you're gonna need to have another meeting, is when you decide what you're gonna have them actually go start surveying for annexation. Yeah.
And I think you know better than any of us, so.
Well, it boils down to, I think we wanna hire somebody that has done work here, because they got a lot less,
Learning.
well, just research work too, they've got it on file, they don't have to go to the courthouse. But we also wanna hire somebody that can get to
Get
it
it
quickly.
done.
Yeah.
So, weigh those two things. See what
Sounds like your project.
I think it's gonna
And
be,
there's no have committee work, you know, there's no need all 5 of us being involved in hiring a surveyor when,
You
you
know
know, we know
what's
who's been
going
doing
on.
the work. Yeah.
We actually have a committee filed about annexation. I think that's me and you.
Is it?
So,
I was gonna bring that up to Chad too, we do
I
have
didn't bring
committees,
my
and
book.
any
I
kind
know
of
it's
committees
somewhere.
to do their work, and,
zoning and annexation.
Oh, we have to do work.
yeah, as I said, it may be time
That
to.
was a long, that was a long time ago, you
Yeah.
know?
Tommy.
Okay, item number 15, discussion, consideration, and possible action to hire a temporary 20, 30-hour week office assistant.
the great thing about this is it's part-time, so it doesn't trigger you having to worry about benefits and insurance and retirement and all that stuff yet, so.
I think what we will wanna do is, I mean, again, we've gotta take some relief off Charles with the lodging tax and the finance committee, we've gotta take some, get some relief for Helen on meeting minutes, agenda, posting notices. I think we need to, figure out what that job description looks like. You know, do we just want somebody to answer the phone, or do we want them to be able to do a little bit more than that? But at first, we just wanna see if we can take some action to agree to get somebody here to get their feet on the ground.
And we was talking about just like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
I think,
Well,
I would just,
I mean,
we need to decide what, you know, what we would like for that individual
yeah.
to be doing. You
Well,
know,
we
I
have
mean,
a
you
job
brought up,
description. We
As
talked
I said,
about
I
that.
think we come up with a job description, and again, at 20 and 30 hours a week, it may not be always Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it may be half a day every day, it may be.
so we may want them to have accounting experience.
Do what?
We may want them to have some accounting experience
Bookkeeping.
potentially.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, let's figure out what that is, you know. But also, you know, it may be a full day on board meeting day and day before and day after.
Yeah,
But
but,
it
but
may be nothing on a Tuesday.
yeah, and the only thing that concerns me is that I don't wanna be accountable for someone else's work. So,
Yeah.
so so if she, you know, if you guys have her take over some, you know, heavy stuff of
Well,
like
she
the
should report
minutes
to
or
you.
something like that, it's
They
like,
would always
like,
have to go through you.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
That's
want
your,
to be,
Yeah.
you know, accountable for someone
You know,
else
the
doing it.
committee
off
Xerox the
the right
paperwork
way.
for you.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
or can they
you
do the
supervise.
initial draft and work with me and then get it to you?
Right,
So you
right.
can, or me and you,
Right.
I
those
think
kind of things.
You don't get out of
once
this.
we get, authorization to hire someone, now we're gonna have to start, you know, thinking about who's gonna, keep track with our taxes, so, can we hire, you know, paychecks or something like that?
Well, I think that's a Crawford
That's a question.
question, cause like, sometimes those firms, do the payroll for the towns. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
We won't have to worry about the benefits
We
issue,
don't,
but we will
me and
have
you
to
don't
set
want to
it.
sign a payroll check. Somebody else.
Yeah, payroll.
No.
Commensurate with experience, is that the standard
yeah.
language on that?
Yeah.
You know, I think you
I
just
think you
have to
figure out a
that out.
range, I think you need to
Yeah.
put your job description together and put a range, whether that's, you know, 10 to 15, 12 to 7, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I will just tell you, you will always get what you pay for.
Yes,
So,
that's right.
And we've got slim pickings probably.
no.
Okay,
So,
I'll make a motion that we hire, part-time 20 to 30 hours per week assistant for the office.
We have a second?
I second.
you have a question?
Charles, did you have a question?
Well, it seems like it might be a good idea to put together a job description and, you know, figure out
And that's what-
exactly what we need.
I think that's what we're gonna do, but
Yeah.
we need the approval to do that, and now we're gonna go try to put
So
together. a
maybe the
job
word is not
description.
hire, but it's to move forward with hiring.
Move forward.
Yeah.
Cause I think we
Yeah.
will need to put a job description together, a pay range, and then post it, and then you guys will have to
Hire.
decide who to hire. So somebody could conduct those interviews and then bring a recommendation to the board, but you all have to make the hiring decision of the actual person it's going to be in a meeting. So, what I would propose is you go ahead and take this action today, but it's not actually hiring a person, it's just to move forward with that process. And then I'm happy to help put the job description together on what you guys want. I have another client that I do that for, and arrange, and then, whether it's on the 25th or the October meeting,
Yes.
you guys can maybe approve that and we can post it and then actually get somebody
And-
hired.
And to kind of go along with that, you know, Helen, we're not taking anything away from you, because you're gonna be overlooking everything anyway. And not taking anything away from him, but that's one reason, hopefully by the 25th, we know something about the, admin.
Washington.
And if that comes on board, that's gonna help Charles tremendously,
Oh, gosh,
tremendously.
yes.
So, I kinda threw that in there to try to get some attention, to get some help for you and him.
Right. Yeah, I think
But
that,
with this coming on, it's
Right.
definitely gonna help him a ton, so.
yeah, I think.
But sooner or later, we're gonna have to have some
And
clerical help.
we need
We just
help
are.
with our
Period.
residents and businesses to
Yes.
be able to ask questions
Yeah.
and get things
Well,
done.
there needs to be a deputy clerk who's there every day from
Exactly.
8 to 5 or whatever, eventually who's gonna stamp things that, people are coming in to file. I mean,
Right.
so you know, hopefully I can get some help from, you know, from Avenue and,
Right.
I get help from Crawford, but, you know, you want someone at a specific location, you know,
Right,
who's gonna be
right.
there
Well,
available.
the
to
town, I
them.
mean, the town needs it, and,
Right.
you know,
Oh,
I
yeah.
just can't.
They'll
You just
find
come
out.
in and get a business permit form.
I know it's
You
putting a
guys
lot on you, Liz, but, you know, you said you've done this for another town, you can come up with.
Yeah, no,
Just
that's-
give
I
us
can
a
do
job
that in
description, and we
15
can detail, and we can
Absolutely.
tweak it,
Well,
and then we'll go
something-
put it in the paper.
Something to remember is the clerk and the treasurer position can be made non-elected, paid positions, or they can stay the way they are now, but you pay someone to do the day-to-day work and you guys are
Right.
overseeing it from a
Right.
role position. nothing we need to decide now, but no, that's always an option, is you can turn those into
Yeah.
the clerk and the
That
treasurer to
takes,
pay
a
rolls.
vote of the
Yes.
people for that,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, no,
That
the
can be
trustees, but it doesn't go to the trustees can do that by ordinance.
done.
That's the way I read it.
Okay.
We can actually take that volunteer thing.
Right.
Now that we've got some income coming in, it's, I think it's something to put on the list to consider. At future point.
Yeah. At the
Okay.
next, board meeting, you may consider, it's a good process, whether you're authorized to do this, I think it's a good, process for all future hiring. And one good way to do it, and there's many different ways, we just kind of figure out, think about, is you create a small committee, mayor, trustee, and that position's person, in this case Helen, can sit in on the interviews once, so you can narrow it down to 3 or 4 individuals. I'm assuming you're gonna get a lot of applications, I hope you get a lot of applications, and then, that way it's narrowed down with, through a subset of trustees, and always have a professional on there that is in that field, and there's nothing wrong with going to a nearby city and asking that clerk to sit in on a committee that does the interviews. And then, and we've done that, especially with the high level positions, and then you all make, go to executive session and make a decision on the pros and cons, but that job description is gonna be critical, and I think Liz, it's great to hear this, thank you. But, I think it's important for everybody to weigh in maybe with 2 or 3 things that you expect of that position, just so you can all be on the same page, because your expectations may be different than yours, Mayor, and you have to narrow those down, to a reasonable expectation of what you're paying, because you can get the best person in the world, and you're paying them, and, maybe more, but at least have a good understanding of what you're trying to solve with this, and they can report to Helen or whatever you all decide. But I think it's important for the trustees as a whole, when they put out that job description, that it's what you all as a whole want. Because there may be some, somebody filing papers or somebody actually doing bookkeeping, it's a different skill set, right?
Well, I think we draft it broad enough that it can be whatever we need them to be.
Yeah.
As projects arise and as things change, because it's not the same from day to day.
Yeah.
So, a little bit more discussion. We have a motion by Todd with a second by Howard for possible action now to hire somebody 20 to 30 hours a week as an office assistant. Roll call vote?
Okay. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
All right, item number 16, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the resolution that was in your packet, 2023-7, regarding the Oklahoma Department of Transportation US Highway 259 expansion project. We did an earlier resolution to approve 2 sections of expansion, and we have, since that time, ODOT has the data in from all of their research. And so I've asked Anthony to come and talk about what that, result was before we, look at this resolution for the middle section of the highway. Anthony?
Thank you, Mayor, for the invitation to be here, trustees. There's been a lot of work went into talking about this highway, starting back a couple of years ago, Chad, with the advisory committee, and so there's been a lot of discussion about the highway project, what it should be, what are the needs, what do we need to focus on. We had going back a little bit, we had a public outreach meeting in Broken Bow back in October of 22, provided some information, got some feedback there, and we had an official public meeting in May of this year. And we solicited every kind of form of feedback you can imagine. We were begging people to weigh in and tell us what they thought, because we realized there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of components to this highway, and so anyway, as an update to our progress and our status, we've compiled the feedback that we got. And as the mayor mentioned, we broke the project up into 3 different segments. The southern 2 miles, basically from 259A South to 259A North. And that feedback from the town collectively has already been received by ODOT. You've already weighed in on that. The other segment from 259A North to Stevens Gap, and then from Stevens Gap North to Gulfport Road, the public weighed in these percentages. And I wanted to share those.
This is in your packet.
So if you could, refer to it as the southern, middle, and northern segments, but basically, the majority weighed in, supporting the 5-lane. The middle section had the smallest percentage, but it was still 70%, of the total that weighed in was supportive of the 5-lane.
How many do you feel like were involved in that, count? Was it 20, 30 people, 40 people?
I don't have that exact number, but it's more than that.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
There's what, 100 people at the 2 meetings that,
Yeah.
and then how many people at the Forest Heritage Center meeting? Another 100?
Yeah, it was a
Now,
good
sometimes
crowd.
it's the same person being recounted, you know, because they
Yeah.
attended all 3 meetings, but I would easily say 100 people at every meeting.
And so these percentages are reflected based on the feedback we received at the conclusion of our last public meeting. Whether it was a paper comment turned in that night, whether it was an online, we have the website available, whether you could weigh in online. There was the email option, and then there was the voicemail option, and we received comments in all of those formats.
Would you, go ahead.
I was gonna say, was there any way to verify who those people were that was calling in and making those?
Mhm.
I mean, you know that they were Hochatown residents, or were they just people
So,
involved?
we took all feedback. That we didn't have a screening process to do that, but, you know, a lot of tourism occurs from out-of-state road users. So we're asking for anybody that wants to weigh in on this project to weigh in. So we didn't screen anyone out.
You know, when you're looking at this, I think that your unspoken individual, a lot of times, that doesn't get a chance to voice their opinion are the tourists, because they're not here,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that we have to highly consider.
So-
They don't get a word or a voice sometimes.
You know, we consider those users a customer of our highway. We are very sensitive to, you know, the situation that Hochatown presents. You know, it has a unique challenge to it, there's no doubt. We're going to, want to hear from the town collectively as a government entity on what the community, the local, your constituents. You know, we would like to hear that feedback from the town.
What does this resolution do for ODOT, other than just give support?
That's basically it.
That's good.
That's basically it.
I guess my only concern, I almost feel like this needs to almost go up to a vote of the residents of Hochatown, as far as whether a 5-lane is good. Because I know there's a lot of people in favor of 5, but I also know there's people in favor of the 3. Now, if 5 is the best solution, you know, we definitely want to do that. But I know that there are folks that have concerns with doing a 5-lane as opposed to the 3-lane. And I just almost feel like if we, maybe not a vote, but we didn't, maybe a town hall meeting, and we get the people, the residents of Hochatown there to tell us, because, like I said, I know a lot of people are in support of the 5-lane, and I also know people that are in support of the 3-lane. And I just feel like if we're gonna get accused of jumping the gun if we do a resident, and we've got time, I'm assuming, we've got time. Like we're 2 years from starting this second part, or a year and a half anyway from starting this second part. I mean,
But that takes plenty of work, you know,
We
and I
don't
hear
have that
what
many.
you're saying,
Yeah,
but ODOT has put on three
That's right,
different sections for not just Hochatown, for entire McCurtain County, or for Texas residents, for anyone and everyone that wanted to voice their opinion. They've had 3 different opportunities to do that.
I know.
The residents also had notices, I mean postcards, I mean, I received postcards saying, come to the meeting.
I know, but that's an ODOT meeting. If we put out there that we're having a city of Hochatown meeting and the topic of that meeting is that 3 or 5 lane, you will get more people turn out from actual constituents of Hochatown. Will show up to that.
I don't
meeting.
think there's anything wrong with doing that.
And I think we
I
just,
think
I think if we don't do that, we're gonna end up with half the people going, we don't
Well,
want this, or maybe not half.
Yeah,
maybe-
I mean, it's obvious that ODOT's making a massive effort to get community, support and or non-support. So, that, to me, I don't know if they legally have to do that.
Well, it's not ODOT's fault. I mean, I'm saying, they've done their due diligence and they've held the
Do
meeting.
you guys, when you go into communities, do you have, I mean, is that
Yeah.
how you make decisions?
Public meetings are part of our process.
Okay.
We're required to engage with the public, to meet all kinds of requirements, whether it's state or federal. Federal Highway Administration wants to know, did you talk to the people that you're going to be impacted? We've went above and beyond that.
Yeah.
We've already
And-
done
And
that.
I agree with that. Y'all held several meetings and I've been to them, but I just feel like people go to those meetings with the mindset of, I'm gonna hear what you're saying and I'm gonna put my input in, but what I really say isn't gonna have an impact as an individual. Whereas if we have a town meeting and we put in that, it's a town meeting for the sole purpose of discussing the 3 or the 5 lane, we will get a huge turnout from this town and we will know after that night what this town wants. And I think before we move forward with a decision like this, we need to at least have that meeting. And if it's 50-50, say it's 50-50 in the town, and then that puts the onus on us as trustees to make the best decision. But if we go into that meeting and say 150 residents show up from the town, and I'm not saying this is how it's gonna be, but 100 of the people are like, no, we don't want a 5 lane, and 50 are going, we want the 5 lane.
I don't know if we can hang our hats on a public meeting, because oftentimes, the only people that are gonna show up are gonna be the ones that are against it, they're gonna speak the loudest. I think we are representative form of government, right? You know your constituents, if your constituents are saying don't do it, then you don't vote for it.
Well, I'm hearing both.
But I'm sure other trustees are hearing a lot of positive things about that, and this is not just a Hochatown issue, I don't think, this is a southeastern Oklahoma issue, right? Because people coming from Smithville that wanna go to a doctor in Paris, they wanna be able to get to the doctor
Well,
in Paris
On a
without
Friday afternoon.
getting hung up in an hour-long traffic jam. So I think it's bigger than Hochatown.
I agree, and
Right.
there's bigger ways to fix the problem, there's other solutions to the problem. But I guess what I'm getting at is, this has been said to me, I didn't come up with this has been said to me when I'm
Right.
discussing the 3 and 5 lane. What good is it gonna do us to put a 5 lane in if Broken Bow still has a 3 lane down there and it's bottlenecking? As this grows, and we're growing, traffic's growing at 10% at least every year, if we're getting a 10% increase. Okay, this weekend, traffic was from Broken Bow to here, nonstop, bumper to bumper. What good does it do to put us in a 5 lane if Broken Bow's only gonna keep 3 lanes down there and we're still bottlenecking?
Well, probably ODOT can tell us where that bottlenecking happens, I guarantee it's probably in Hochatown, not in Broken Bow.
Well, right
The
now,
bottleneck is the 3 red lights in Broken Bow.
That's-
It ain't here, it's here on Friday from 5 o'clock until 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon, that's where it's here.
Right.
Let's annex Broken Bow and
And
make
and
them a
that
5
and
lane.
that 5 lane is gonna help
Be
out.
careful.
Well,
And then you have to start somewhere,
I agree.
you have to start somewhere.
Well, there's gonna have to be on Sherry Lane, there's gonna be a diversion there, hopefully, that the county will take care of, correct?
Right.
Potentially, so that'll be a start, but I think.
Well, in all the projections, have you seen a 5 lane is certainly going to help with traffic, so all the way through Broken Bow, right?
If traffic, I wouldn't be here today talking about this if traffic wasn't a problem. If traffic has been the issue that brought us to this day, the 5 lane is gonna ease that problem better than the 3 lane. There's little dispute about that. So the effects that may happen south of here where there's a bottleneck, and it's definitely a bottleneck, there's no doubt about it. I think that is somewhat independent of once you're north of that bottleneck, the traffic can normalize in the bigger highway, for example. Will the bottleneck exist there? Yeah, it will. There's no doubt about it, until something else is done with that area.
But that would be a city of Broken issue.
Well, it's still our highway,
Yes.
and so that is an ODOT in, just like this, it would be an ODOT in City of Broken Bow,
Me, you guys are-
project. We're just trying to take care of the problems as we can. This one is definitely identified as a priority.
And like I
Not
was
to say
telling,
that one isn't.
For the sake of argument too, if the trustees, after the town meeting or whatever, say, look, we just want 3 lane, and the highway, ODOT says, okay, that's fine. 5 years from now, we need 2 more lanes, ODOT's not gonna pay for it,
They're
right?
gonna say, "I told you so, I told you so."
That's on us now, as a city, to have to pay for 2 more lanes. I'm thinking, why put our, constituents through, that kind of monetary problems, right?
yeah,
Because they're gonna end up paying for it, where right now ODOT's paying.
I think there's
So why not just-
arguments for both sides, there's valid arguments for both sides. And one that we are not really considering also, as far as the 5 and 3 lane is, would you say ballpark, a 5 lane is gonna take considerably longer than a 3 lane as far as construction?
Construction time?
Yes.
I would say it will take longer. To say it will take considerably longer,
I mean, but, well, I guess my point is the disruption to our main corridor.
Right.
And what it'll do to the businesses and tourism as a whole coming
Right.
into this town.
But it's gonna happen either a
Yeah.
longer period of one time, or it's gonna happen now, and then 5 years from now, it's gonna happen all
It's
over.
gonna be more crowded.
And,
So
and
it's-
then,
it's
and
gonna
then if
happen
there's
one
sewer
after another.
lines and fiber optics and all that lined up to line up with a 3 lane, then all that stuff's gonna have to get moved over.
No,
And so it's like you either do it now or you gonna do it again
Right.
5 years from now. I mean,
It's gonna
just look at the difference of the growth from 10 years ago to now. I mean,
well, like we were,
it's just
like we were discussing
astonishing.
today, if you're growing at 10% a year, and then you've got, like Todd said this morning, we just did, I mean, if you've got,
We just signed another plat for
thousands.
100 and some.
well, you've got, when the Choctaw, landing is open, you're gonna have, like Todd said this morning, thousands of cars coming north, and they're gonna keep coming north. Some will, many will, and so, it's a definite that, the 5 lane seems to be more, practical when you look at the long term. If you looked at Hochatown and said, we're gonna flatline in 2 years, then you might be able to, reconcile that and look back, but I think what Todd's wanting to do, I think is is just a final effort by the city of just wanting to make another effort. Does it have to be ODOT? Does ODOT need to be present? Probably wouldn't hurt. But I feel like ODOT's done a tremendous job putting these meetings out, giving people the opportunity. And what I'm finding in most cases, when it comes to some of these situations, is that a lot of people don't show up. And that's the reality of, it's like voting. It's like people want to change them. Sometimes they don't feel like they have a voice. So, if the city meeting is something that you feel strong about, I mean, I'm not opposed to it.
I just think that it's a dividing subject with the town. I mean, I think it's something that splits the town as far as anything that we can do, any big project that we can do, I think it splits the town more than anything. And I'm in full agreement, if 5 lane is what it needs, I just think we need to get the public's, our constituents need to come, because in the end, we're representing them. At the end of the day, we represent those constituents, they put us here, and I know they put us to do here what's best for Hochatown. And that all these arguments should be made in front of the town.
But
This is-
didn't they
That's what we're
already
doing
with
right
the
now.
meetings that?
Those
they
are
already
ODOT
had?
meetings, y'all. People don't go to a random ODOT meeting.
Why
They
not?
go to a
They're
city
gonna
council.
go to a-
Because they live here. I would come to any meeting that in my town
And-
before I would go to an
I can
ODOT.
understand, well, I
But
can
it was
understand.
regarding their town.
Yeah, it's.
But it's not a final decision-making thing, like, you feel like you've got no voice with ODOT. If you're just a citizen, ODOT is, well, I'm just saying, ODOT it's a state agency.
Well,
If-
totally
if-
disagree.
I
Hang on, hang on. Let Todd finish, and then the rest of us
Okay.
would like to say
All
our
I'm asking is that we maybe get our constituents, and we sit down and we find out exactly where they sit. And I agree, ODOT has went above and beyond with these meetings, and I went to the meetings, and, you know, but as a citizen of this town, who a lot of these people work, some are retired, and, you know, the kind, ODOT meeting kind of, oh, when's that happening, when's this doing? Well, I can go, but if we have a city town hall meeting, and the only topic of discussion is gonna be 3 or 5 lane, I think we will see at least a number, the same as a voter turnout. And if you don't come, well then tough, I understand, if you don't show up, then you can't be heard. But we listen to our constituents, we listen to the citizens, and it may be perfectly fine, they may 70% may say 5 lane, you know, not even for discussion. But then at least we sign this resolution and we don't risk the town turning against us.
Mayor, may I add?
Well,
Our job is to try to make your life easier. So I want to maybe, let's take a quick breath on a couple of things I asked Anthony, and maybe Jermaine, you all thinking through this is, during construction, you got a lot of traffic, what happens? And he shared that with me, I want to share with them how the staging works, because we talked about some of the logistical, will you still be able to get people in and out, no matter how long it takes to build, so, you're shut
So-
down and all that.
To that point, if one of the parameters that we will place on our consultant, on our designer, is to keep 2 lanes open at all times. Whether that's 2 lanes on this side of the easement or 2 lanes on this side of the easement, it may go back and forth, but that's just one of the givens to the construction process, is to make sure that north and southbound traffic still flow during the course of it. So there won't be a closure of the highway, there will always remain 2 lanes open, one in each direction. It just may be in different
You
locations.
also mentioned too, Ed, if you could clarify with everyone, that you guys are gonna make sure that, you know, the flow of going into businesses and out of businesses is gonna be a priority as well.
So one of the general construction notes, let's say, one of the general construction provisions we put in our contracts is that access will remain open to the property owners during construction. Now, that is a general parameter that is set on. If the property owners and the contractor want to work out some things that work best for that, let's say times of day or days of week, things like that, then those agreements can be reached. But in general, we say you gotta provide access somehow, whether it be move the driveway over here a little bit while we work on the permanent one, and then replace it back in its original location. All of those things will be part of that's a given to the contractors to make sure that there's always access maintained, no landlocked.
It's a curb and gutter system, you want to explain what that is?
So part of it will likely include curb and gutter, which is, to try to limit our footprint, and we may have drainage within that footprint or just outside that footprint. All of those are just part of the design that we will, whether it's a storm sewer or an open ditch, all of those things will be developed as we go. But that curb and gutter and those openings for each driveway will designate where each driveway occurs. You know, if I can, Mayor, the idea that, and look, we're not here to tell the town how to solicit feedback. That's not what we're here to do. I would wonder, let's assume that you get a 180-degree feedback at a subsequent meeting. What is ODOT to do with that in comparison with what we've received at our meeting,
It,
you know?
it lets us know as trustees what our constituents want,
Okay.
and that's what our job is to do, is to provide that. And I'm not advocating for a 5 lane or a 3 lane at this moment. I'm just advocating that to sign a resolution now on the 5 lane is a little bit premature, I think. And especially since it's down the road before construction, even, we've got time to have that discussion with our people. And I didn't mean any disrespect to ODOT when I said they don't feel like they're heard. I mean, if you go to any state agency meeting, you feel like your voice is small. Whereas if we have this town meeting and 100 people show up, and if it, like I said, it may turn out just like you got it, 70% in favor or not, but it also may be flipped the other way. And if 70% of our constituents are against the 5 lane, and we go ahead and are moving forward with it, then that just creates a whole other issue as far as they're not doing what the constituents are wanting to do. And all I'm asking is that we get, and I know you guys have already got their input, but this number here could contain developers, people that don't live here, that aren't residents. This number could contain tourists that come in here.
It should.
Well, it should, but they shouldn't dictate our policy if our constituents want us to do something different. And all I'm asking is that we find out what our constituents want us to do. And
If I may add,
Yeah.
our job is to advise you on our position. It's your, obviously your call, but if you decide to do that, I would just recommend you think through how you do that, because you don't want to cause friction without getting an answer the way you were looking for, right? And so 100 people show up and 70% say they want the 3 lane. What does that create for you? Does that give you resolution? So be careful how you set that up. If you set it up, there's nothing wrong. Public input's great, right? We love it, and I think you have to be cautious, because if you're trying to represent 100% of the people and everybody gets a vote here, then maybe it is an election. But it's hard to get that, 120 people and 65-45. How do you take that information and come to a resolution on your part of what the people want? So I'll caution you how you set that up if you choose to go forward.
I think Todd has been heard. We'll come
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Can everybody else
Yeah.
weigh in? Okay. Anybody else want to go?
Yeah,
Jack?
I feel like that when this whole process started, the word got around to everybody. When we started when we formed the committee to where we started the project, which Anthony clarified to me, several years ago, that this committee was formed because of the fact that we didn't have a city council. So he wanted to have, opinions from locals and community members. And so since this process has started and since we've arrived where we are today, the meetings that ODOT has had already, and I may disagree with Todd a little bit on this, they have been extremely straightforward and clear on what the mission was at the meetings. Everyone knew what the meetings were regarding. No one really missed a beat on that. Business owners, locals, residents of the county, they all knew that these meetings were driven towards getting people informed. Even the one you did at Broken Bow High School, which was massively impressive. I mean, you did the whole, I don't know if you did the whole, I missed the one down here in Dennis's. But the one you did at Broken Bow was a beautiful presentation on how you guys were gonna move forward with a 3 or 5 lane. So I feel like the meetings were put out there, and people had plenty of time to make a decision. Were they able to make it? Well, some had to miss, some just chose not to come. But I believe that they give you guys a lot of information that I feel like we're gonna end up potentially getting at this. If we decide to do this new meeting, I think we're just gonna get more information. And here's the situation. I'm totally in support of having another one, Todd. I am. I don't think there's nothing wrong with having another meeting, discussing it. I don't think we should vote, but I think we can get everyone's opinion and open up the floor and see what people think. There's nothing wrong with making that a priority as far as, if we feel strongly about that. As far as voting on the resolution, I'm on the fence on that. But anyways, I just feel like that you guys have, and Todd agreed to, but I feel like you guys have done a great job. and people know, you know, the options and have been given the floor to, you know, to opinionate, to give opinions, so that's how I feel about it.
Howard, Janet? Anybody else want to say
I
something?
feel like we've given, we appreciate ODOT, everything they've done, been over backward, tried to pacify Hochatown, be part of the community. I'm just not gonna know when the meeting stopped. I think, my opinion is, everybody has had the opportunity to go to every one of these meetings and voice their opinion, fill out surveys. By us filling one more out, and I don't think if we had 75% of the people show up, vote against the 5-lane, I don't think it's gonna change ODOT's mind. I don't. The traffic
Then
is
make
gonna
us look bad.
continue. It is about Hochatown, but in part, it's not. It's about safety from one end of this county to the other. Hochatown just happens to be sitting right in the damn middle of it, okay? Yeah, I love our little town. I love our little 2-lane, but I hate the traffic on the weekend.
That's dangerous.
This is a 4-year, 6-year, 8-year construction. Most of us won't, some of us may not be here. I don't know. I may probably never see the end of the construction of 259. But I think we've given our citizens, not only Hochatown, but McCurtain County, plenty of ample opportunity to voice their opinion, turn in a survey, have their opinions heard. I think we as Hochatown, we've already supported one or both ends of this thing. It's time for us to support the middle. It does no good to have a 5-lane on one end or the other and not support it in the middle. It just, in my opinion, it doesn't. We have a decision in front of us, it's there, discussion, possible action. Time for motion and a vote and see what happens. That's my opinion.
I make a motion to approve the resolution 2023-7 regarding the Oklahoma Department of Transportation Highway 259 expansion project.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolution by Janet. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call it for a vote.
Okay. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
No.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you, Anthony. Item number 17, discussion, consideration, and possible action to contract with Candor to build the official Hochatown.gov website in an amount not to exceed $20,000 for phase 1. Is this in everybody's packet, Helen?
Yes,
On the-
it is.
Okay, on the page 1 with Candor, another professional service organization, they have already worked with Choctaw Nation. They have also done, emergency public relations when there's an issue, with this area. They work with Potawatomis, they've worked with, you can see the list of who.
Yeah,
all
this is very impressive.
You know, they were voted the public relations, kind of like, I have to say, we want the best for our town because we need the best, because we need so much. Candor was, awarded best PR firm in the state of Oklahoma 2 years in a row. I think it was 20 and 21. Anyway, they are really outstanding people, and I think they can pick up the ball. One of the, again, listening to our constituents, one of the things that they're asking for is to be able to have this technology to pay their lodging tax online. And so with Nick setting up the computers and with the work that's already been done to actually get the Hochatown.gov information, and with Candor able to put all that technical requirement together. You out of here, Anthony? Okay, thanks for
Thank
coming.
you.
Safe trip to Antlers. So that we can finally get all of these things put together. We've got a great temporary website up, but it's not gonna service us at the municipal level that we need. If people wanna see a job description, they can go pull it off, fill out the application, turn it in. So,
You said they were a PR firm, basically? Will they do our social media?
yes, they will do all of that.
Okay.
whatever we want them to do, you know, I mean, and they've got very good metrics. I can say that they have extensively reviewed what, McCarty County Tourism Authority does. They have extensive data on that.
As far as social media, is that something we'll approve? Like, I know we can't approve every social media post, I guess, but.
I would think that the Public Relations Committee should be giving them some direction over what our messages are, and they would probably come to us and say, here's the message that you need. They're the expert in that area. Let them tell us what kind of social media we should be doing. Questions?
Well, was this, I'm assuming this company was recommended by the Run Group?
No, they were recommended by me.
Okay, so you looked them up. I don't know about how everyone in this room does business. Maybe I'll do it a little bit different. Maybe, you know, you do it the same way I do, but, you know, and maybe it's different city code. I don't know. But I like to get several, just like we do when we go to cabin sometimes, or build a house. Sometimes you get two different companies to where you can actually evaluate and see, maybe, you know, there is maybe this company's amazing. There's no doubt that they are, but do we want to consider getting a potential quote from another company that can do the same thing, or do we feel like this company is?
I'm recommending
want?
this company. They have
Okay.
watched Hochatown for several years. They know what's going on down here. They have reviewed the books and the materials that MCTA is already doing. They're Oklahoma's award-winning agency. Again, like a lot of our people, they're willing to work for us because they want to see us succeed.
Now, they do construction and everything, don't they?
They will do everything that we want them to do.
Okay.
The part of that is, our volunteers are drowning, and we need to get professional people on board quickly that can do this. Professional services, you don't need to bid that out. You know, if next year we want to rebid, that's what MCTA does. Every 3 years, I think they go out to bid. I think we need to get people on the ground because we need help immediately.
I will tell you from someone who's seen a number of websites built for municipalities and large corporations, this number is actually really affordable.
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with getting other bids, but I don't necessarily know that your number's not off here, if that's what you're worried about and you want some insight. I talked to another city attorney, I think, this might be the wrong time, but I think it was Chickasha, their phase one was $80,000.
Well,
So, yeah, so I don't think you should be worried about this cost is
Yeah, it doesn't
reasonable
seem
compared to.
too bad.
People
So
are
I
already
wouldn't be
seems
worried about that, but you can't, I mean, if they get in there and they build phase one and you don't like the service you're getting, you can move on to somebody else, but I wouldn't, unless you just want to get some additional bids, which you absolutely could, I'm not concerned about what you're being offered.
And the reason I asked about Ryan was that that wasn't you know, I was just curious if you guys had used them.
No, we haven't
So
used
when
it.
I-
Just give you, IT is a very broad term. It's one of those things you almost never want to hire internally. They're working for you because there's software, hardware, technology, cybersecurity, web development, social. It's a whole big crew, so it's better to contract out pieces. Just so you know, what we've done on our side is we did ask, and it's a relationship of mine, to help for the time being at an hourly, half hourly rate. So I talked to Shell and Skip, and they've been doing this a lot of hours, and so I did two things. One is, you probably should, as trustee, have them send you an invoice for something, some of the stuff they've done, they put a lot of hours in. But two is, I asked Shell, you know, what's the going rate for maintenance and upkeep of the current system? And she says the minimum is $80, so I hired somebody for $40 an hour, which is minimal to keep like this agenda for this meeting and do that. So we have that covered for now until you get something on board at a very inexpensive rate. And then two is you have other needs that aren't really part of this. So what I would do on this, and I haven't seen the background on it, make sure the scope of services is what you want. You know, it covers so that you're getting what you want out of it. So I'm with you. You know, usually you want to leave minimum, you know, see who's out there that'll do. But these guys have a good background and they're experienced, and for the cost, I think it'll get you on your feet. It won't be the last time you do this, just for the record, but it'll get you on a professional level. But at least the scope of services, you know, are they posting social media or just linking to social media? What do they do? They do PR for you. So understand at least what you're getting for that. But the other part of that is that, who I asked to help us at 40 an hour is, we're gonna get your domain. For example, you're gonna have an email address at hochatown.gov. It's gonna be Outlook. You need, right now, different stuff is getting done on different computers. We wanna put stuff in the cloud under a Microsoft account for you. So number one, it's backed up and secure in case you get attacked. And two, it's accessible by the people you want it accessible by. So at some point in the future, we're probably gonna recommend you get a town computer that has some of the stuff on it that's in City Hall, Town Hall, where the work is not out there floating around, it's done in one place. So there's other things we're working on that are IT related.
Can you explain what, and I don't understand, what they mean by universal platform? What do they mean by that?
Well, again, I didn't read the background, there's different meanings. The universal platform is something common that's, you're able to modify as needed. It's not a proprietary, that it's their own software, that you can't get at it from, if you need to change it. Like Wix isn't the best, that's what you're on now, today's Wix. It's not the best platform for security. That probably, hopefully will change by then. But things like, when I talk about Microsoft, we'll think either, we've been going back and forth. There's 10 licenses, there's a license fee every year, for that many. We're gonna narrow that down a little bit. And we're not gonna give you 10 licenses for Microsoft 365, for example. You don't need that, maybe 2 or 3. So we're trying to keep those costs down, the things you have to have, that are town owned, right, that are secure. So again, I think this is a good first step. It's relatively inexpensive. I mean, 20,000 is 20,000, but overall scheme of things, if you get a professional product for that looks good to the outside world. We've talked about search engine optimization. If you search Hochatown, you don't come up first, somebody else. We all know who that is, right? So you want your revenue, your success, your public safety, your quality of life is dependent on your tourism right now. And you want to look good to the outside world. COVID's over, people have choices, they go places. So all these things you're doing to continue to promote yourself, if you get complacent, I think you're going to start seeing a drop in revenues.
Phase one, what does that mean? Does that mean just development of the website, or will they maintain it for a year, or what is phase one?
Well, that's what we need to.
Scope of work, yeah, we need to get that.
If you go look on page 2, these are some of the things that they have to do, because we're a municipality, so ADA compliant. We're gonna need multiple pages, so they're gonna do that for us.
One thing I would say, I probably skipped Shelley about this, because I wanted their blessing. I wanna make sure they didn't think we was keeping them under the bus, and we're not. They need that. They've got irons in the fire, and, God bless them for what they've done so far. But Skip mentioned, and I'm hoping this has something to do with number one, the 2,500 to 5,000, the ADA compliant. I don't know anything about that, way above my pay grade. We're already ADA compliant for whatever that means, because we are Hochatown.gov now. We have passed and met the standards according to what Skip has said. And maybe we get some input there, but Skip and Shelley have already built that website. It's ADA compliant. Government has had, Homeland Security's happy. But they need to take that base. This company will take that base and build on that. And hopefully that 2,500 to 5,000 has already been met. Not sure about that, but I think it's okay.
And I'm thinking it's a universal WordPress already.
And they're gonna take what Skip Shelley did, and they're gonna expand it, add more, taxes, get our websites, get our, emails established, other pages that.
And what people have asked for is to be
Yeah.
able to interface with the website, and we don't have that from them now.
Does that include the SEO work as well? That 20,000? I mean, do we?
Well, this was just a first blush proposal of, what they can set up. First, they've gotta set it up. But if you want more specifics, we can go back and ask them what all that is. But right now, I don't know that we need the SEO. We need to be able to collect the tax on it and have people be able to email us in a formal way.
Can I ask a question about collecting the tax on the website? How's that gonna interface with,
So
I
lodging
can't
tax
remember
will,
the other
yeah,
name company?
yeah, if the trustees choose to go with this company for lodging, 100% of that will be this company.
So
they'll
they're
have-
not gonna go to Hochatown's website to submit a
So
payment?
I actually interacted with them on that. What they will do is it'll be to the outside world, it'll look like the Hochatown website. When they click on that for lodging tax or payment or everything.
So it'll be embedded?
Yeah, it'll be in
Okay.
their system. It'll be API calls and that kind of stuff. So to the outside world, it'll look like one system, but it's actually theirs when they're making those payments. So we don't need payment for at least lodging on our website. They'll handle 100% of that. And the
But they
payment
go
is-
through our website to get?
Yeah, they can do that, and I'm sure there's multiple ways to do it, they can go directly there or through ours, but for the outside world, the Hochatown website will look like that's what they're going to.
So I'm thinking one question I'd have would be, any software that they need, if we're not quite ADA standards, which we should be, it sounds like, but if we're not, is that 5,000, is that included in the 17 to 20,000? Mayor had suggested we get a scope of services. What actual, what is this 17.5 to 20,000 include? What all does it include? I just wouldn't want to see, an occasional bill for additional software that they needed that, now they need another 10,000 for this additional software, so,
Well, that's why they limited it to 20,000. Like I said, normally this is like an $80,000 job to get us to this point where we can actually function with the municipal website. They're limiting it to 20 so that doesn't happen. So they don't come to us with, oh, I need another 5 for this, I need another 10 for that, I need another 12 for this. They will get us up and running to where we can collect our taxes and have professional emails and be able to use a Word document or Excel spreadsheets and keep them on a town computer for this 20,000.
And I understand that, but with any company at this level of magnitude, Diane, they do need to give you a summary of what they're gonna do. For that, to me, that's.
Are you guys kind of looking for like an engagement
Yeah, well,
letter?
just some
scope of
clarity of
services?
what,
We're
because
gonna look at
it's
this
just the way
contract
this
kind of
is,
thing.
this is the way this is written up, there's some things that they missed that Howard brought up earlier that was typed up, maybe it was typed up by Diane, I'm not for sure, but, things like it being a WordPress universal website already, and then they mention it. So it's one of those things where, I think what we're, and maybe that's something that's, we can get later, but, it would be nice to just have a bullet point of what they're gonna do. Are they gonna give us 4 pages, or are they gonna give us 5 pages, or are we gonna get?
They'll give you as much as you want,
Okay,
they're
Okay.
gonna give you as much as you want, it's just a matter of whether you want them.
I'm not doubting, I think they're a great company, but it would have been nice to have something a little bit more detailed of what they were gonna do, but, because there are times where you do have to pay extra, but this may include everything that, if Liz feels good about it, and
I
you
mean,
feel
just
good
from a
about
cost
it.
perspective, I've not investigated the company at
You
all,
guys
so
feel good
I
about it,
can't
yeah?
speak to that, I'm just,
I'm good.
from a cost perspective, all I can say is this is not out of line. That's my limited knowledge of the website. I don't think there's anything wrong with having them give you a written, much like Ryan has done and Julie's done and I have done, here's our formal proposal for you to consider and sign, so you know what you're really getting, not just an email. But I think the email is a good start to say, okay, we'd like to move forward, can you put a formal proposal together for consideration for the board?
I agree.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah,
And from a legal perspective, it allows me to review it. An email, I'm not looking at that for legal stuff, but they're gonna have, I'm sure at some point, they're gonna ask you to sign something to do all this. That says who owns what rights and what,
And that's part of what, I've seen their proposals before, they're literally 300 pages long.
So we're gonna have to
So
approve
you
that
want,
anyway.
Chad, I'm willing to give you as much as you want for information, but
I guess the only, okay, we pay, let's say you pay them the 20,000, they build this website, everything's working, it has to be maintained. So, I
maybe
guess
some
what,
more information about.
yeah, just
What's that?
maintenance costs and things of that nature, like, 'cause, I mean, what's to say, okay, we built it for 20,000, but here's a bill for 80,000 for maintaining. I mean, I'm not saying they would do that, but we need it open for,
Well, maybe they have a monthly maintenance
Or-
fee.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's what I said, I
You
think
need
we
to
could
ask
get
about.
out, but, you know, before they put a 300-page line item together, they wanna
Right.
know if this is something that you're interested in moving
oh,
forward with.
absolutely. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's all we're saying.
We're interested, but if, you know, it doesn't have to be 300 pages, and it may not be. It may be 10, it may be 2,
Yeah,
but I think if they could just give us a general structured, proposal of what they plan on doing, and this covered a little bit of it, and it would be nice to have that, you know, as a follow-up.
I think just a scope of services, like the mayor said, if they can just give some bullet points on what that 20,000 includes, right?
well, let's go over what they've already provided for us, so what are you not comfortable with that you want added to this list?
I just think the possibility of further expenses, like,
Yeah, additional.
What the future is?
Additional software.
Yeah, maybe.
Ongoing maintenance.
what if we need to add, like, they build us these 5 pages, and then we need to add a page, we need 20,000 a page, you know, just.
So I'd like to make a motion to ask Candor for phase 1
I must.
itemized
Go.
scope of service. Thank you.
Yes, perfect, perfect.
And
Do I have a second?
I'll second
Maintenance fee?
maintenance fee.
Yeah, like,
What's the
what's it
word
gonna
looking
cost
for?
us to
Yeah.
get into us?
Monthly cost, it was
Because I
like,
know there's-
every meeting, what they gonna charge
We
us?
have
to put it
statutory
on.
obligations under Title 74 of information that has to be posted on your website regularly, who the trustees are, your meeting minutes, all those sorts of things, so you've got to have somebody who's going to be
Yeah.
tomorrow working,
Pushing it all
emails
the
it to them,
time.
they put it up.
Is that a part of this basic service? Could
Don't
do that
know.
for the next 12 months or
We don't know
24
that.
months.
Yeah. And just so
Has
y'all
to be
know,
some
the air
kind of monthly
conditioner's not
maintenance.
working, so if y'all keep this dragging out, we're gonna be sweating soon.
We're almost done, we are,
Okay.
we're getting close, we're getting close.
Okay, so
It's hard to
the
move on.
motion that I have is to ask Candor for phase 1 itemized scope of service. Do you want me to including maintenance fees? Did you add that to it?
Well, it should already be in scope of
Yes,
service.
that's what.
Right.
Scope of service?
And additional maintenance fees or whatever.
Maintenance fees need to be in the scope of service.
I think scope of services.
It should
Yeah, I think
cover-
so.
Yeah, it should cover it all.
And if it's not, I'll tell them.
Oh, make a second, somebody.
Any
Second.
second?
I second.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call vote, Janet Kress.
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes,
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent,
Yes.
okay, the motion carried.
all right, 18, discussion, consideration, and possible action to establish dedicated funds for road maintenance and development of plan for priority road repairs within the town limits. I get one more phone call about my road, that's a pothole.
Yeah.
For Todd to think that we're not hearing from constituents, I'm not sure I can go there.
Well,
Cause I tell you, I hear from plenty of
Yeah.
constituents.
well, that's just it, I was hearing from them, but I was hearing both sides.
Yeah. And they voted you to make the decisions for them.
Right.
Alright, okay, so, I wanna start the discussion with what dedicated funds looks like. I am hesitant to say, let's do 3% for funding, because look where MCTA ended up. You know, 85% for advertising, and man, we sure could use some trash pickup and some road repairs. So.
I think as you guys form your budget with Crawford's assistance,
Mhm.
that will be built into that. I don't think you need to make a determination now, I think just letting people know that that's part of your process when you're working on your budget next year.
Is that we will dedicate funds, because roads was a priority, I mean, I campaigned on roads, you know?
I did
Worked on
too.
roads for 5 years, with no help. So, I want the constituents to know that roads are a high priority, but part of that goes to, there's a lot of legal liability, and again, it's multi-jurisdictional, we still have county responsibility for roads. We have so-called private roads, that's probably another lawsuit, but we won't go there. And the liability, if me and Todd go out there with a dump truck full of rock and then somebody falls over because the culvert wasn't proper, I think we have some engineering that we have to work with
that liability, that's where this person comes in,
Yeah.
okay?
You know, so I'm just saying, we can't just immediately start going out and filling potholes, but can we do this phase of, and this is kind of what Garver Engineering had talked about, was, you know, can we do some phase work with these whole 12 priorities that we have? Can we immediately identify major intersections, culverts, and potholes, that we can just put Band-Aids on so that people can actually travel to their towns? And at the same time, and figure out what that cost would be, and can we afford it? And then, what do we need to engineer to improve the roads until we can get to having more money to do better improvements?
I think that's the first thing, to find out what we actually can do.
Right.
Like legally, what can we actually do? I mean, can we go fix a pipe? You know, or can we do this? But then once we learn what that is, that's gonna be the easiest, quickest way to get back to our
Absolutely.
fixing roads. And it-
So we need to make it a priority for that company.
for-
So
And
that-
we're gonna get you a proposal for Garver, that's the one we've been interacting with, too, because you have a lot of engineering needs. And I think for this item, a good way, if I may recommend, is to figure out what those needs are, prioritize them internally with you all, which things are first, and a lot of times, a high priority may be a high cost, so maybe choose to skip that and do 5 other priorities that can do the same cost. So you got a lot of decisions to make, but I'm not sure you can do them right now until you get the engineering needs study. And yet you need to break it down, the main highway and conduit, the cabin roads, which ones do you own, which ones do you have legal access to. That needs a professional engineering firm to figure all that out and make those sort of, and give you estimated costs, so you can plug them in of when can you do them, how can you afford them over time. So I think it becomes a priority to get an engineering firm.
Yeah, I would think the first thing we'd have to do is identify town streets, ones that we are responsible for. And then, probably, have a certain amount in the budget, whether it's 5,000, 10,000 to begin with. Because we've got to identify what we're responsible for. We get a call from a constituent that says, I've got a pothole right here that just flattened my tire. In many cities, if they get 2 flat tires or whatever, they start to become liable for fixing those flat tires. But if we have a private road, we can tell that constituent, that's not a road, let's see if we can work with the developer or whatever, you know, and get something, moving there. If it's a county road, let's see if we can, help with the county, whatever, get that taken care of. So identify the roads that we're responsible for. Set aside a small budget for emergency repairs.
Okay.
Right, and, you know, engineering costs for, inspecting those, right? And I don't know what kind of, amount that would be, you know, but, I mean, it's
Yeah,
fine.
you'll know your budget, you'll know your priority, it's gonna be a living document, never ends, right? There's
Right.
always maintenance, I'll give you an example, most cities, have sidewalks. And the
Mhm.
sidewalks sink and pop up, and there's usually a standard of 1 inch, you need to fix it, but even with that, they'll go out there and mark it and put it on the list, betting on their budget, and it's usually 18 months before they get to it. It's not immediate unless it's some true emergency. So you will have that kind of, it'll keep getting better, cause you can't do it overnight, but you'll have a engineering priority list. And then you're gonna have to budget and do what you can with the funds you have.
Right.
And, go ahead, sorry.
No.
This goes along with this, as far as the roads and maintenance. It's something we need to give this priority probably over about any other project. For, other than, it's the easiest way to give back to our constituents, but also, when they start this work out here, we need alternative routes to get through town. And we need those in place before they start work. Not during, not after. We need viable alternative for safety reasons, for just the returning customer. There's so many things that fall into it. So these, road maintenance needs to be, other than just the stuff that we have to do, it needs to be a priority. And we need to be able to start work, or start maintaining, at least pick out 4 spur roads that go out to give that alternative route to people. And, because I think it'll be, if we don't have it in place and then they start this work out here and all the traffic is still trying to come through here, it's gonna be that much worse, you know, that much bigger of a problem. And so anything that we can do as trustees to expedite this process and get some money set aside and start that, I believe it needs to be moved to the forefront.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure legally, like Anthony said, if you start, bidding or hiring companies to come in to do that type of work, then there are some municipal legal, hurdles that you have to take. And, you know, we had a conversation this morning, so, but, I mean, before we cross that bridge, yeah, I mean, you're right, that's definitely needs to be a priority for sure. But I mean, if we get the roads in a very healthy condition, and that be a priority initially, whether it's gravel or just improving the road like we talked about this morning, then we can set ourselves up for it to be paved and to be a successful actual paved road and not be one that crumbles.
Let me mention this when we're talking about roads, when we're talking about these dedicated funds. So I talked to OTC yesterday to understand our sales tax collection. We'll get our numbers at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I was hoping we'd have them today, but we don't. But one of the things that we need to understand, we've been doing this for decades now. When you're looking at that month to month, year over year to see, are we equal, are we below, are we higher, or whatever. When we first get these, like we've kind of felt like our lodging tax collection was low because of lack of participation. Now that we start this sales tax, it's actually gonna be high because usually it's a rolling monthly. Most of the sales tax people pay by the 90% by the 10th of the month for the collection. And then the next month, when it's actually due on the 20th, they have to pay that extra 10%. And the way so those dollars are rolling. And he said, you don't have a roll. You're starting from zero. So all of July and 90% of August will be in that first check. So that's the weeds of the data that we need to look at. Don't say, woo, we got $200,000. That means next month we're gonna get 200. Probably we're gonna get 85, whatever that number is. So just, even though now we're growing, our numbers will be going up. But just be cautious when we talk about, can we just fix some potholes and culverts? And we get more money, and we know what the actual budget is, then can we do some road improvement with better gravel and then eventually some paving
Yes,
as we have the time, but,
yes.
yeah, fix roads.
So what is the possible action we're taking here?
Well, is there the possibility that I know that we've gotta clarify what we can legally do. But other than that, can we start putting together a proposal, like RFPs or something to get ahead of it? That way, when we do find out what we can do, we put those out and find out.
But we're not ready to do that yet because we have to have the engineering study because, when you start doing these, RFPs, you have to say if you're gonna do a 5-inch pack, a 3-inch pack, is it, 16 feet wide, is it 21, what your ditches are, because again, it's kinda like you guys want a proposal, but exactly what details are included in that before they'll give you the price, so you do apples to apples. But if we can just, the agenda item is, can we just establish some dedicated funds, and I think that our CPA will tell us what that amount is. We're not saying it's a certain percent or a certain dollar amount. And to develop the plan for the priorities is what we're asking. That's the motion that will be on the table. Can we develop a plan to determine what that priority is, so that we can RFP it?
Do we have a roads committee?
That's part of the, like I said, we've got a lot of legal work, cause we have a US highway, we have state highway, and we have county roads, and we have private roads, and then we have roads that nobody even knows that exist. So we've got lots of different types of road, and the type of maintenance and who does them is.
What would be the best way to try to figure out what streets are town streets?
That's,
Yeah, the
well,
engineer, yeah.
It's part engineering, part legal.
Yeah.
You know, are we going to adopt the quote private
Can we
roads
get
that
an
are
engineer
clearly
to kind of give us an estimate what it might take at least to identify the streets that we need to be
Yeah,
responsible
yeah,
for?
yeah.
And then we can set aside a specific, that specific amount, at least to get the engineer work.
And we already know what the roads are, we already know the mileage.
Yeah.
Or we'll-
That's all right, yeah, we already know all.
We gave them, they came out here, met with everybody way back,
Mhm.
we've been talking to them about the needs.
Right.
And so they're supposed to create a proposal for us. Once we get that proposal, we'll share it with you and we'll look at it to see if it fits what you all are trying to achieve, just to make sure it does all those things, so.
Right.
Who's they? I missed that.
So we're talking to a firm, mental block here,
Garver.
Garver, yeah, I'm thinking about that for a moment. So Garver Engineering, who's done a lot of municipal work,
Yeah.
and they have offices here in Oklahoma, so, you know, they're the two that would be, you know, that we considered, but with our relationship with Garver, we've seen their work, is them, and then there's the engineer firm that's doing the textile road. But we thought we'd keep a little separation, I didn't wanna use the same as them, because they're representing ODOT on their road improvements, so it'd be better to have a separate firm doing what you need on conduit and everything else, so. Let's
So
get
you
that
would be
proposal.
working with Garver?
Yeah, so it'll be you all, you'll get a proposal,
Mhm.
but we'll make sure that it has things you're concerned about in there.
What kind of amount are we talking about for dedicated funds?
This was, I don't think we can put that, what that number is right now. I think we just need to take
So the-
actions. Are
the
you ready
act-
to move forward with roads being a
Right.
priority?
The action plan is to ask Garver Engineering to prioritize road repairs with cost. Is that it?
No, no.
No?
The question on the table is, possible action to establish some dedicated funds that we will get some advice as to what that is, for road maintenance and the development of a plan for priority road repairs.
So right now, we're just saying, we're gonna establish some funds, we don't have to
Yeah.
set them out.
And that we're ready to develop a
And what,
plan.
what
I
We
don't
we'll
can't
do,
develop a plan
what we'll
without
do,
agreeing
we'll
to
call
work
Crawford
with people.
and see if there's something, a magic percentage out there that goes in the standard budget that we're working on.
And part of that will depend on what the condition of the roads are.
Exactly.
That's what the number will be.
Then I make a motion that we establish a dedicated fund and begin a plan for road maintenance.
Okay,
And that would be
To
with
establish.
Crawford and Garver.
that's not part of the motion.
Okay, but I'm just still trying to wrap my head around it,
Okay.
and I'm not.
Okay, so we have a motion by Todd, do we have a second to move forward with roads?
I'll say,
Alan?
I apologize for the AC, I don't know what's going on.
It's not good.
Okay, we're almost done. Roll call vote,
Janet Kress,
Yes,
Howard Haggard,
Yes,
Diane Jordan.
yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carried.
Okay, moving on. Item number 19, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding a call for volunteers for the Planning and Zoning Commission pursuant to Title 11, Section 43-109. This goes back to, Tracy's magic 12 things that she helped us get to. We can't have planning and zoning if we don't have ordinances, and we can't have ordinances if we don't have a policeman to enforce them. And we can't do any of that if we don't have tax to pay for it. So, what we're looking at is, I think Liz left, but I think we talked about asking 5 people to serve as a little bit of a subcommittee to say, what does planning and zoning look like? What's commercial, what's residential, what's mixed use, what's industrial, and kind of goes back to, do you want ODOT to tell you what kind of road you need, or do you want your residents to tell you what kind of road they want? It's the same thing with this planning and zoning. Let's get some input from a committee of residents, but they will be led by a professional planning and zoning and legal team. That's Julie Fort's expertise is planning and zoning. We're not asking our residents to know how to say this should go here, this should go here. We want them to go out, talk to more residents, talk back to it with us, to see what we can do so we can start implementing where everything goes.
So this committee that you want to form is already formed with them, but we wanna do are you?
Well, no, we need to have 5 volunteers.
Oh,
And
okay.
I've been asking
In the
people.
community, okay.
Yeah, and they've gotta be,
Be
registered
registered,
voters,
yeah.
I've asked a couple of people, go ahead, Howard.
well, Mayor may be able to give some input on this. sat in on Broken Bow, a couple of their, city council meetings, and they just went through some zoning down there. They have their zoning committee that can't be trustees, and it can't be certain individuals in the community that have influence, businesses that has influence on how that zoning goes. Pretty much has to be private citizens. So, that's what I gather from
Okay.
down there, and I think that's part of this state statute. So, yeah, we need some citizens of Hochatown to step up to the plate to be part of the zoning committee that makes recommendations to the board as to how this is zoned.
Yeah, I would add, I think that's exactly right, it's, and Liz and Julie will be able to add a lot
Yeah.
of ordinances, they'll have the details of a lot, but what I would recommend is start the process of committees now, and today it's just P and Z, but I see the CBB, for example, the Commercial Visitors Bureau, all they're focused on is how to keep keep your tourism strong and bring recommendations to you. You have other boards, Economic Development Board, but I would say to you that you set the criteria, within the law, resident, not a trustee, how they choose their, chairman, how many board members, but then you do it every year at the same time. In other words, whatever terms they are, they usually match trustee terms. In other words, they're not all at the same time, but maybe it's your terms are 3 years or 2, I can't remember. 4. You may wanna keep them like 2 years so you have more options. And then, they alternate, but you'd have a period every year, say October 1st, opens up for applications for boards and commissions to be on the website. And there's the qualifications, fill out your application, which board and commission you're interested in, your top 3. And then you open that up for 30 days, and after that, then you all review them as the trustees. If you choose to have interviews, which we did in our city, we interviewed them either one-on-one, have coffee with them, because each one of you, you're looking for different things, maybe from this part of town, maybe with this background or education or engineering, whatever it is. And then one board meeting, you appoint all the different boards once a year. So right now, you're just talking about P and Z, so they may open it up from October 1 to 15 for application. And you want the public, you want to notice it. The residents should have the opportunity to want to be involved. And
that's something you can
put out
on the
there.
website.
Yeah. And here's that, and then after a while, everybody learns at the same time every year. And they'll talk to you throughout the year how I can be involved, and you'd be great on this board, economic development or whatever it is, and then number one, you make the appointments and they start. So there's a process. I don't think you have to reinvent it for each commission, you create a committee, you create a board. P and Z is one of the more important ones, so typically that is addressed more details in that from your perspective, what you're looking for. Somebody that has a lot of conflict, they're making decisions on zoning, you don't want them to own half the land in town, right? So you gotta be, we've had those, Tracy's laughing, I just remember somebody like that. But the reality is, the public has a right to be involved in these decisions, and that's the way to involve them. So, yeah.
So how do we do a call for volunteers? It's
Well, I
a
think you can just,
publication?
put it on the website, and again, be talking to your voters, that's what I do, I just call them and talk to
I
them.
think you all need to decide on the timing. When do you wanna open it up? How long do you wanna give them to apply? And what's the application, like, what are you asking them? And there's several towns around here, we can get you examples of, name, address, and how long you lived here. And there's usually minimums, usually you want resident for at least 1 year, but that doesn't mean you have to appoint them, you like somebody who knows the town here 5 years, so you get to weigh all that. So basic questions, and then you all can aggregate those and have a meeting, and, somebody nominates the name, somebody seconds it, and you all vote, and go on to the next person. We try never to, just for the record, we try not to vote no. You don't wanna, people take the time to apply and stuff, it's more, you have a discussion as a group, what positions you're trying to fill, and everybody gets to, maybe have one appointment or something, and you gotta be careful how you do that. Tracy can talk to you about best practices on governance on that, because on one hand, you wanna allow the residents opportunity to apply, you also don't wanna say, no, we didn't choose you because you're not any good. It's the reality is each one of you, I want somebody that lives in this part of town, you want somebody that has experience in a little engineering or land, and you want some, so they're not good enough, it's just it didn't fit the needs you all were looking for. So, anyway, so, process, Tracy can help you with that. She's really good with the process. I'm volunteering for her.
Yeah, I was saying, help that bus for a little.
Well, I think if we can just, again, if we're ready to start getting to work, planning and zoning is part of ordinances, we can build what we're. Let's move forward with this, we'll, get some information as to, we may be lucky if we can get 5 people to do it, and then it'll be a really easy decision. But if we get 7, then we should probably, do a little review the qualifications and get a balance, we said that, it's not that you're not wanted or you're not qualified, it's that I've got 5 people with the same qualifications, so I need 3 of these other
So
people.
who in here is gonna steerhead this call for volunteers?
I'll ask for volunteers.
Okay, Todd's project. I make a motion,
And we can post it on the website without.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So once you get down.
I make a motion, we take action to call for volunteers for the Planning and Zoning Commission, Title 2 or 11, Section 43, Do I
Okay,
hear a second?
we have a motion by Janet,
I second.
second by Chad, do we have a roll call vote? Oh, Todd, sorry, do we have a roll call vote, Todd?
Janet,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, motion
Okay, we're
carried.
gonna have a planning and zoning, and it's actually not called a planning and zoning, I guess it is commission.
Commission.
There's like legal word stuff, but Tracy's shaking her
Yeah,
head,
yeah,
yes.
so we can,
We'll talk.
yeah.
Yeah, and again, this is, Julie Ford's area of expertise. She has served on planning and zoning, she was a lawyer for a city on planning and zoning. We're gonna get the right people to help us to do this, okay? All right, item number 20, discussion only regarding the status of the flock cameras, we kinda did that with the police. We approved 2 at the last meeting. If anybody wants to donate funds, they can still just write a check to the town of Hochatown and make donations, and the more money we get, the more cameras we can have. So, that's really all there was for that.
Okay.
So, ask your friends and neighbors if they wanna help put cameras up.
Have you turned the guy on to go ahead and purchase these and get the 2 up, or one?
I just told him we've approved 2, yes, he knows we're approved for 2.
Okay.
And, he's ready to get started, of course,
Okay.
but I'm like, give us a little time, because, it can kinda make a difference if he's gonna get 10 cameras, then that can make a difference as to where he puts them, if he's only gonna do the 2, then we just move forward with 2.
And plus the fact that without a police department, without a computer set up here, without a bunch of camera and a computer to
They
send
do all
it
that,
to,
they do all that,
but who's he gonna send it to?
they send it to the
Broken
sheriff,
Out of bed.
they send it to the sheriff's office, they send it, all that's been taken
Okay,
care of.
and that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the cameras?
Nope.
Wait, Howard?
No, I won't elaborate anymore.
Hush.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Alright, item number 21, discussion only regarding the Community Wildlife Preparedness Plan. There are grants that we can do, but we have to have that updated. It has not been updated by the Hochatown Volunteer Fire Department since 2011, I believe. So somebody's gonna have to take the ball and start working on getting that done. So it's really just kind of a notation.
Well, I don't know how.
Yeah,
Is that,
That was the
I'm
one,
not shrugging the responsibility of the town of Hochatown, isn't that more than just Hochatown, is the Hochatown Volunteer Fire Department, is it the National Forest Service up here, the whole 9 yards?
it's for Hochatown.
but it's the Hochatown Community Wildlife Protection Plan, which we discussed this when we first started,
Yeah.
a long time ago.
Mhm.
This thing is massive.
Yes,
I
it
bet
is.
it would cost,
And we talked about
$50,000.
that.
We need
That
professional help.
takes
Yeah.
professional services to go
And
out
they
there.
have
We're gonna
that.
have to pay somebody to go build that.
the
We've got to
forestry,
come up with funds to do that with.
the forestry has a grant application. But the only amount of money we can get out of this thing is $1,250.
Might not be worth the grant, time spent. We're better off just paying a professional to
Right,
keep moving.
That's it.
correct. So, Mayor, how can we get this thing rolling?
he'll add it to his list.
Add it to the list. We need to talk to for the grant folks and we need to get moving on that. We need to get everything entered and to get them focused. The lady's name is Lacey. I think we just need to keep her up to speed on what we're looking for. She also finds grants for us, so she'll bring them to us.
So what's the first step? Talk to Lacey.
We need somebody from Hochatown with all the details of finances to get with her and get all the details she needs to enter us into the system.
Somebody with finance. I don't have any clue. I mean, you can tell by just looking at this
Yeah.
thing that this is a lot of money.
Yeah. And for the really complex stuff, we can have the folks in Ryan do it, but it's just more expensive. So I'm trying to keep costs down. Can't ask folks. 'cause they
I
have a
also,
budget.
I even went as far as going to Choctaw's, forestry department, and I didn't get anywhere with that either. I've tried every avenue I can think of trying to get somebody to help us do this without a cost.
Well, let's
You need
see if Ryan
professionals.
can't help us.
Yeah.
I think we'll get what we pay for it.
That's right.
Yeah,
I got it in my notes here, so.
Thank you.
okay. Item number 22, discussion, consideration, possible action to change the town of Hochatown official mailing address to P.O. Box 459, Broken Bow, Oklahoma 74728. That's what it has sort of been already, but we just need to make that more clear on the website, because we have people giving us checks in the restaurant, we have people giving checks to Charles, we have them leaving them in the mailbox.
Right.
We need you to mail your official information. If you've got a permit application, if you've got a check, you need to mail it to the post office box, which is secure and has limited access.
Okay, I make a motion to change the town of Hochatown official mailing address to P.O. Box 459, Hochatown,
Broken Bow,
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, 74728. And it does need to be Broken Bow. We are working with the postal service about making it Hochatown, Oklahoma, but not for the P.O. boxes in Broken Bow.
Oh, that's correct.
So it
Sorry.
needs to say P.O. Box, Broken
Correction,
Bow.
Broken Bow.
Yeah, okay. So motion by Janet, do we have a second?
A second.
By Chad. Roll call vote, please.
Janet Kress.
Yes.
Howard Haggard.
Yes.
Diane Jordan.
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Hey,
And
Dan.
motion carried.
Can I go?
Okay, I'm trying to get this out of here before we go.
Yeah, can I call you in 15 minutes?
Okay. Discussion, consideration, possible action to change the town of Hochatown physical address
I'll call you in
to 9983 North US Highway 259, Suite G, Hochatown, Oklahoma, 74728.
And that'd be right over there.
Yeah, and that's the triplex for right now. Howard, I've already talked to the Wade Patterson at 911. We've talked to Marla Reynolds, the district director for all the post offices in this area. And because our address is a cluster box, which is what all the mailboxes are together, they're not down the road. So since we have a cluster, we can all use the same address. The post office and 911 agree. 9983 is fine, and we can add the Suite G.
Okay.
Cause this is Suite A,
Yeah.
so, you good?
No, yeah.
Yeah. Howard's not good.
What's wrong, Howard?
You talked to Wade, I went and tried to talk to Wade, he wasn't in.
Mhm.
I talked to Cindy, sitting at the front desk, hour-long conversation with her. If we're over there and what, you wanna call Sweet G, and, you call 911, somebody broke a leg and you need an ambulance, and you tell them 9983, Sweet G, they're gonna laugh at you, cause they don't know what that is. They go by ECOP, SDR, that's the official addresses, regardless of what's on the mailbox, you can call it up on your phone right now. This is 9981 4 times, 9983 is over there, 9985 is over there, 9987 is up there. There are no suites. They do not recognize suites. Well, I don't know what the federal government does or the post office does. But, McCurtain County Emergency Management does not recognize any suites. And that address over there, as far as they're concerned, is 9987.
Wade's the director, and he told me 9983 with the cluster box is a fine address. So,
And Wade is,
he's the director of 911.
well, that's it.
Is it still, Diane, is it still, the 9983 is out there on the bottom of the mailbox that
That's right.
they turn in? Isn't someone already doing the A, B, C, D, E on the buildings, so they know where to turn in? Is there been a change, is there gonna be a change? Okay.
No, we're gonna keep what we have.
Okay.
It said Wade's approved it and the post office has approved it. Apparently the secretary did not approve it.
I don't know. So, I make a motion, to change the town of Hochatown physical address to 9983 North US Highway 59, Suite G.
Okay, Janet made a motion, do we have a second?
I second.
Todd? Roll call vote?
Okay, Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
No,
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Item 24, discussion, consideration, and possible action to change the town of Hochatown monthly trustee meeting location to 9983 North US Highway 259, Suite G. And that's so we can put our notice up that we're gonna be moving to the bigger building. Hopefully before October, it was finished up today, so hopefully it'll be ready by October meeting. But we need to post that in the newspaper, in fact, with the court clerk, county clerk. Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to change the monthly trustee meeting location to 9983 North US Highway 251, Suite G, Hochatown, Oklahoma 747.
I second.
Roll call vote?
Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
no,
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Take one, pass it down.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Item number 25, new business, any matter not known or which could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to the time of the posting of this agenda. Does anybody have any new business?
I've got some information
Okay,
about the septic and the co-op with the tribe on the, waste treatment. That's gonna be a short-term solution. They don't have any interest in a long-term help, but they are willing to help us. So I think, our next step is to have an engineering firm give us what we're gonna have to run the infrastructure down there, what we need to tie into them, we give them that information, and then they will start working with us on what we need to do to tie into their waste
For long
Did
term,
you
for
say
long
they're
term.
not, they're not,
short term.
Oh, for
they're
short
not
term,
interested
so.
in long?
They're not interested in the long term.
they never were. But that gives us a chance, I mean, that's very generous of them, because they're overbuilding, knowing they're gonna build more stuff, but if we can just have a Band-Aid right now, that would give us the time to breathe, to engineer what we really need for our own water and sewer,
Mhm.
so.
And then any pipes and anything that we lay now can transfer over to,
To the city.
The city.
It'll be planned that way.
okay.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of people working hard to get that done, so great update, Todd, thank you. And I know Mayor worked hard on that too.
And then I just give you a handout. If anybody wants to join me for Saturday meeting for Bearwise, or the Eclipse meeting on October 17th, Eclipse meeting October 23rd, or surge training September 18th, 19th, 20th.
Okay. These are all good things that we can keep in mind. Howard, any new
got a
business?
phone call from Mr. Williams, our county commissioner. I asked him, I knew they were in process of fixing to go into burn ban. I asked him to give me a call if they decided to go for burn ban and give us a heads up. They haven't done it yet. Last night, they had an emergency meeting of all of the volunteer fire department chiefs. All of the chiefs have agreed for a burn ban, and the commissioners are supposed to take their consideration tomorrow, a special meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So FYI, heads up, we will be under a burn ban come tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, would be my guess.
But it's raining right now.
Yeah.
They may change their mind, but
There's just more been
that's,
reading about burn bans.
Okay.
we had 8 other counties that went around us, and we
Absolutely.
were the only one that did.
And then we have our burn ban signs. Would you hold it up for us? temporary signs, but at least we are ready.
Yeah, they look great.
But,
Can we get, can we grab it?
huh?
Do you want people to take some of those and put them around their area? Okay.
If the fire band does what it does.
I don't know, you haven't talked about it. We thought we just do 259. That's it. We got 25 and just go, start down there and just go down the road. That's what we thought.
My only question about town, Hochatown putting up their own Birmingham signs, who's responsible for putting them out, who's gonna know where they're at, who's gonna be responsible for picking them up?
Okay, I'll vote Howard.
It ain't happening.
Well, I really think that needs to go to the fire department.
Yeah, let them pick any other signs up around here. Put it out there.
You know, does anybody wanna ask volunteer fire department if they wanna put them up?
I'll ask Jeb, he's my neighbor.
What?
Jeb's my neighbor. And
Who
the
you
fire
ask?
chief here.
Who's
I
Jeff?
personally think it ought to be the
Jeb.
fire department
Jeb,
responsibility. Yeah, I agree with giving them the signs, but I think we ought to give the fire department the credit for putting out signs and noticing our, and giving.
But as soon as they go up, even before they go up, we need on Hochatown.gov the requirements. You know, you can't have an open flame in your, you can use a gas grill, but you can't use this type of grill, that kind of
for
stuff.
anything for the website, you'll send that to me and maybe copy, the Copeland's and we'll get that on the website.
Right.
Alright, yeah, do we have, any more discussion, consideration, and an action to adjourn? We have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
We have a second?
A second.
Roll call vote.
Janet, Chris, hey, everybody, hold on. You
Yes.
can't leave, you have stuff to sign.
Oh, yeah, we have
So,
stuff.
Yeah.
Is your air conditioner working?
Janet,
upstairs?
Chris,
Janet?
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan.
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned at 3:50.